Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. It's really low sounding.
The opinions expressed by tonight's guest do not represent the opinions or position of Spaced Out Radio, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with SOR Media. Listener discretion is advised. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we are about to take you higher. Broadcasting from the Rocky Mountains of Colorado to you listening around the world. This is Spaced Out Sunday with host Tessa Nicole Thomas. You can follow Tessa on our Facebook page at Spaced Out Radio, on Twitter at TessaTNT, and you can subscribe to her YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio for the archive.
But we break on command 'cause women rule the world.
Buckle up, space travelers. Let the countdown begin.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's time to go for a ride with host Tessa Nicole Thomas.
Good evening, Spaced Out Radio. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a Rocky Mountain high and get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 419.9 in colorful Colorado. It is Sunday, February 3rd, Monday, February 4th for those of you on the East Coast and beyond, and this is Spaced Out Radio. I hope you guys had a rockin' Saturday and an awesome Sunday and an even better evening. I am your host, TessaTNT, and I am live tonight broadcasting from beautiful Fylth, Colorado. We are 150,000 strong nightly on spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, Paranormal Radio, TalkStream Live, 99.1 FM, WQEE, 107.7 FM, UPRN in Louisiana, as well as Revolution Radio and Deep Talk Radio, which you can find at deeptalkradio.com. Don't forget to head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, where you can peruse the Spaced Out Radio store and read the encounter online dealing with everything strange, paranormal, and odd. So tonight, I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight we have rescue medium Ron Sherman on. And Ron is first and foremost a rescue medium, but he also reads auras, helps people find and communicate with their spirit guides, does energy work, mentoring, and teaching. He discovered his gift when he himself had a possession over 30 years ago. The amazing past rescue medium, Dr. Lewis Ireland Fry, helped him with his possession and discovered his gift. He considers himself a student of Edgar Cayce, but believes that everyone has something to teach us. He does 90% of his work remotely and has worked with people all over the world. Hey Ron, thank you for joining us for the show tonight, and thanks for being so patient.
Hey Tessa, good to be back. No problem, I'm glad you figured it out.
That was insane. I just had to, I left my computer off till right before I started the show, and then tested it out. It was working fine. As soon as I went live, nothing was working. You couldn't hear me, and it was just insane. But we're back, and we're ready to do the show, and I'm so glad it's working. I was sweating bullets.
It's just like an old car. Just needed to warm up a little bit.
for sure. So can you tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself and your history and what led you here to being a rescue medium?
Yeah, what led me was having a possession of my own, and then during my rescue or releasement, I was told that I had the gift, which I believe everybody can do. I think everybody has a gift, just whether you want to develop it or not. But I just came to realize that I'm here to help people, and that's where I feel best. And I can help people by using my gifts.
And it's so true. Helping people is like the best medicine. Can you tell our listeners, and I'm not sure, there's a lot of people in here that weren't here before. Can you tell them a little bit more about your possession, what exactly happened, and how you learned from the doctor and from Edgar to get to the point you're at this moment?
Yeah, sure. I was married to my first wife, and I've always been a sleep talker, but my sleep talking was going crazy. I was making sounds stuff really weird, like a little kid one time, and a drill sergeant, like go 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 go, and then the next minute I'm making like a baby infant sounds. So I got a voice recorder and recorded some of it. Well, at the time I was going to college, and the professor in my psychology class asked me to house sit, or I should go back. I separated from my wife after that, and I was staying with my parents, and my professor asked me to house sit. Well, while I was at her house, I was for a week, and each night my nightmares got intensified. It's like to the last night I couldn't sleep at all. As soon as I closed my eyes, I was having nightmares. And something told me I needed to tell her about that. At this point, I had no idea about spirit possession. The only thing I knew about was The Exorcist, which is totally different than spirit possession. But it took me about a week. I finally got the nerve up and went to her office and told her about my experience. And she handed me a book by Edith Fiore called The Unquiet Dead. And she told me with an open mind, read this. And it was a Friday. And she told me read it over the weekend. And if I thought it applied to me, she could help me. Well, I took it home and thinking this is crazy stuff. But I was also trying to get an A in her class, so I did a little butt kissing. I thought, well, I'll read it. And then I started reading it, and no, I can't read this. It's too crazy. And then I thought, well, I'll just go over it so I can at least, when she asked me about it, I could at least sound like I read it. And then I started reading it, and I'm like, wait, that's me. Oh, my gosh, that's me. Yeah. So I read the book, and I was convinced that she was right, that maybe I did have a spirit possession. Well, there's a lady who became my mentor after this, Dr. Louise Ireland Fry, and she was at the time going from one college to another, and she had a little network like my professor that would find people that needed her help. So she offered her help to me, and I met with Louise on a Friday. She wanted to make sure I could be hypnotized, and it was really crazy because I'd never been hypnotized. And she did it so quick. And then she made my index finger the yes finger and the middle finger the no finger. And she asked, is there an entity inside of Ron? And my yes finger popped up. I could have jumped if I could have. And then she asked, is there more than one entity inside of Ron? And the yes finger went up. And then she says, does this entity want to cooperate? And the no finger went up. And then she asked it to let me rest, leave me alone until the session, which would be 2 days later. And I had the best sleep those next couple nights. And I went to the session where they found that I had, well, first she asked for the strongest entity to come forward, and his name was Wilhelm. He was an SS agent for Hitler. And later we would find out that me and him actually had some karmic ties too. But she asked him, when did you enter Ron's body? And he said, I should say that while I'm hypnotized, one of my counselors was going to channel for me, Well, at the very same time, him and a lady that was just there observing, she was like me, she never heard of any of this stuff. Well, they both started channeling at the exact same time, and they both said at the same time, this entity does not want to cooperate. Well, Louise was one of the sweetest ladies you'd ever meet. She's passed now. She died a couple of years ago, 104 years old. But she got him to talk, and she asked, when did you enter Ron's body? And the lady is now doing all the channeling. And I could hear everything that she was saying in my head, but I was so hypnotized I couldn't speak. But she said that he was riding him or hit his head when he lived in Montana with his dad, and nobody in this room knew I lived in Montana with my dad. It wasn't a pleasant experience in my life. I'd never talk about it. And so I'm like, okay, this is crazy. And I got to tell you, though, when I went there, I was still brown-nosed and thought, I'm just going to go through this, get it over with, and maybe get the A in the class. But that was pretty convincing when they knew that I was in Montana. Well, then he said that he was responsible for killing hundreds and hundreds of Jews, and he wouldn't be able to go to the light. Well, Louis said, yes, you will go to the light. It was really elaborate. She asked him, he said, no, he has no light in him. He's never been loved. He never loved anyone. And the reason he went into my body was because he was hiding from the dark one, and that he was safe inside of me because I had light. And she said, well, everyone has light. And she goes, look in your heart. What do you see? And he says, nothing but dark, gray slime. She goes, look deeper. And then he gasped. It was like, she says, what do you see? He says, it's a speck, like a pebble of sand. And she said, well, what's it doing? And he says, it's spinning, and it's destroying all the dark, all the gray, yucky stuff in his heart. Well, anyway, she kept going with that and finally convinced him to go to the light, and he did, which he would actually come back to me a week later. Then she asked for the second entity to come forward. There's 3. And the second one was a little boy. And she asked him, when did you enter Ron's body? And he said it was in Gillette, Wyoming, which I lived about 5 years before this happened. And I got to tell you a little bit backstory here. When I lived in Wyoming, I was able to buy a condo by just taking over the payments, because the people that lived there had a little boy that got killed out in the road, got ran over by a car, and they couldn't stand the memory. So, and in fact, when I rented out 2 of the rooms to my friends, and when we moved in, all the little boy's toys were under the stairs in a little closet, and we just left them there. But we started hearing the little boy. We'd be downstairs, we'd hear somebody walking around upstairs. Well, we named him Bobby. No reason, just the name that came to our head. And so it would be like the stereo would turn on in the middle of the night. We'd come out in the morning, there'd be stuff out of the refrigerator. Just Bobby was really active. Well, anyway, back to Louise's session. She asked, when did you enter Ron's body? He said in Gillette, Wyoming. And she asked, what's your name? And he said, Bobby. If I could have ran right then, I would have, but I was so hypnotized, I was stuck there. But she got him to go like right away. His grandmother came from the light for him. And then the third one was a lady that had possessed me between the 2 of them, after Wilhelm and before Bobby. But she was like the peacekeeper. The little boy, Bobby, was afraid of Wilhelm, and Wilhelm scared him all the time. So she was like the one trying to keep the peace between the 2. And Louise asked when she entered my body, and they said at the Meadow Ranch, and that's a ranch that I grew up on. And the house we lived in was like an old plantation house, beautiful house. Every bedroom had a balcony and a fireplace. There's I think there's 8 bedrooms. And she was a caretaker of that, like in the early 1900s. So anyway, Louise then talked to my spirit guide, and my guide told her that I had the gift, and she offered to help me enhance it. Well, at first I didn't want anything to do with it. I just wanted to get that out and move on. It took me almost a year for me to go ask her for help, and that's and then she taught me how to use hypnosis, which I still use. I've changed some of it a little bit just to my style, but she was a huge influence, and I'm always there when I needed her until she died.
And it's so awesome that she was there and she was able to help you through these things. And I don't see anything wrong with like kind of personalizing things like you're saying with the hypnosis and stuff. You kind of change things around to suit you and things that feel comfortable with you. And that's pretty interesting and intriguing that you're able to do that.
Yeah, and when I teach people, I tell them that too. So I'm going to tell you how I do it, but if you're welcome, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you do it some way different. It's like the spiritual world I really get frustrated with all the labels. Like, what are you? I'm a rescue medium. I've never met anybody that was gifted that had just one label. Everybody's that like some of my best friends that are some of the people I work with, they're empathic, they're mediums. There's several things, we're all individuals, and it's to put the labels, I use them just to make things a little bit easier. But I think we, as a group, I think we tend to rely on the labels too much.
Well, yeah, like you're saying, labels are pretty prominent in our lives and in our world here. There's so many labels that are used, and I hate them. That's why people contact me and they're like, "Can you give me a reading?" and so on and so forth. And I'm like, how do they know that I have these things going on? And I don't advertise that I have these certain gifts because when I do, then everybody's going to be hitting me up. Hey, can you give me a reading? This and this and that and that. When I'm around people or I'm talking to people, if something comes to me, I will definitely tell them what it is. But, I don't want people coming out of the woodwork and every day 500 people asking me, hey, can you give me a reading? Because it just doesn't work like that. I can't just be like, okay, well, here's what I got. When something comes to me, I'll share it, but otherwise, like, I can't just tap into it like that. I'm not that in tune with this gift. When it comes, it does, and otherwise, I really don't have anything.
Exactly, and there's times when, I'll hit 3 readings in a row just perfect, and then all of a sudden I have nothing, on a fourth one. And sometimes I think there's reasons for that. I think they're working through something that they need to work on. I use the analogy of the teacher in the classroom. Well, the teacher teaches you, but when it comes to the test, she has to step back, and let you do it, or else you're not really learning. So, that's kind of what the spirit world does sometimes. They just like, okay, you're on your own. You gotta, you're in the situation you were meant to be in. Now figure it out, learn it, grow it, evolve.
So with one of your possessions that you were talking about, I remember last time we were talking about trying to move him on to the other side, and he actually. Can you tell us a little bit about how that happened? He kind of felt like you guys were trying to trick him or whatnot.
Yeah, the Wilhelm. He was, he went to the light, and after when Louise talked to the spirit guides, actually there was like 5 or 6 guides there, and I think I think Michael and Gabriel were in that, the archangels, and she asked him, well, where did he go? He's not in the light. He's in a place of the light. And they said the best way you would understand that is like a school. And Louise asked, well, what would he be taught there? And they said to love, because this man never knew anything about love in his life. So he was there, and then it was weird because when I had that, I was 13 when he entered my body, so he'd been with me for over half my life. And when he was out, I mean, I had this energy like you wouldn't believe. The old adage, food tasted better, light was brighter, everything. And for like a week, I was just in heaven. And then one day I was sitting at the table, and at a kitchen table, and I just all of a sudden I felt depressed, and he was back. So I had to go back, and she hypnotized me again, and he said that it was a trick, that he was so afraid of Satan, or he called him the Dark One, that he was sure that it was the Dark One tricking him out of me so that he could take his soul. Well, Louise told him, well, you can't stay in Ron. I'm going to give you three choices. You can either walk the earth, or two, go back to the light, or three, be destroyed. And he picked to be destroyed. And that was strange. It was like, I don't know if you've seen the old movie Ghost with Demi Moore, at the end where those dark entities come out and grab the ghost and just drag it off. That's what it was like. Just drug him off, and I guess destroyed him. I don't know. There's so much of it that we don't know. But
yeah, we don't. You don't know till you're there, and he felt like he was being tricked. He knew he had done so much dark, and he didn't believe that he deserved the forgiveness or whatever, and he was afraid something else was going to happen, and I think he was quite paranoid, and he had every right to be, because he was not the nicest person in the world.
Exactly. Oh, and I got to tell you, I left something really important out. When she called for, and I do this, when I do rescues, I always call for somebody from the light to come for them. Well, usually it's somebody, a relative, somebody they love, they once loved. Well, when she called for somebody from the light for him, you never believe who came for him, but one of the Jewish women that he raped and killed. That's like, talk about forgiveness, And so that was the first time he went, and then he came back, and then in that second reading, she got deeper into our history, and we found out that we had two past lives together. One was I was an orphan in post-revolutionary America, like the 1600s. And I was at a monastery, and he was a priest who sexually molested me. And then the other one was I was actually one of the Jews he killed, when he was a SS agent. So that was, I guess, the third encounter we had. And
well, if I remember correctly, didn't he also rape a girl?
Yeah, when Louise was asking him to go to light, he goes, "No, I killed hundreds, and I killed and raped, hundreds." And like I said, that's who came from the light for him, was one of the girls that he killed and raped and killed as an SS agent.
Yeah, it's so sad. The power that they feel like they have over people, and they have this right when they really don't. And a lot of people in the armed forces take different things differently. Like, they have different trauma going on, and they act out in different ways, and some people will go to the dark side and do certain things to people that they shouldn't, like in the Middle East or whatnot, and other people are trying to keep their moral compass and do the right thing. It's just kind of strange how war affects people and makes them into different people, really.
Yeah, that trauma changes them. We're constantly there's a war between the light and the dark, and we're constantly pulled in both directions. And the closer you get to the light, the harder the dark is going to try to keep you there from going there, and that kind of stuff. They use things like war, drugs, alcohol, sex, anything to pull you away from that, being a light worker. And that's so easy for them to do in a war situation where you're actually, killing people, because that that's not right. So it's so easy to manipulate you into the dark side.
Yeah, for sure. Once you get a little taste of it, because when you are in war, you're killing in the name of war, and once you take that life or you do these certain things, it kind of just nags at you and is trying to reel you in more. I don't know. It's pretty interesting yet scary at the same time.
Right. Yeah. One gentleman I helped with a possession. It was really interesting. Is that the he had two entities, and one of the entities was he was in the first Iraq War, the Gulf War, I guess I called it, and he came face to face with an Iraqi soldier and killed him. Well, that soldier was his possession, and so it was very, very emotional for him when we brought that out.
Yeah, for sure. So you've been going through different things. What did you learn from Edgar Casey? I've heard of different people learning from him, and I've kind of stayed away from it because there's certain things like I'm interested in, but I even have books on magic and such. But I know that my mom
Right.
participated in that, and that kind of led to her demise. So I'd look at the cover, read the back, but I wouldn't open it and get into it because I'm kind of afraid what would happen. And
Right.
Edgar had so many different teachings that were interesting and intriguing and of a different kind of thought process. What did you learn from
Right.
him?
The biggest things I learned from Edgar Casey is like energy attracts like energy. So, and I learned that so much with people that I help with possessions. If they're a happy person, it's usually a happy spirit that finds them, unless it's like a relative or somebody close. But like a chance encounter type possession. Somebody angry is going to draw angry entities and stuff like that. But the biggest thing was the reincarnation. He believed that we were all created at one point, one time, and that he created us to be companions to him. So he gave us free will because he didn't want us to be like one little robot, all of the same. But with our free will, we veered off and actually tried to become like our own little gods. And he came to a point where he had to decide whether to just destroy us or help us. So he created places like the Earth, and there's other places that we can reincarnate to, according to Casey. And actually, I recently ran into a couple entities from that. But anyway, and then he realized that we would never get back to where we were supposed to be in just one life, so he gave us reincarnation. So each life, we have a set of goals that we're supposed to learn, and we will keep evolving. And another thing I learned from Casey is that it's not as humans, we have to think of things and, from start to go. But we can actually reincarnate back to, like, our next life could be 1900. Time, as Casey says, is a man-made thing where everything's going on at the same time, which is my brain cannot comprehend, but I accept it. The other stuff I learned from Casey, well, one of the big ones is that I don't charge for any of my gifts. He never charged. He took donations for his hospital at one point, but he'd always worked as a photographer and then did the readings. He did a reading in the morning and then a reading in the afternoon. So, that's kind of, I get a lot of pull from my family to charge, and I just can't get myself to do it. No matter how poor I get, I just can't do it. And, I've had some people that offer me money, and if they want to donate something, that's fine, but I would never turn anyone away because they didn't have the money. But those are the big things I get from Casey, the reincarnation. But I'm always learning something new with him too. I haven't even got into his astrological teachings yet, and they're huge. Atlantis, all that is all big stuff. There's so much.
Yeah, I have a question here from Sharon Bowles, and she's asking, don't you have to agree to let a demon/possession in? Which I don't agree with because I've had possession. I didn't agree to that. It just kind of jumped in when it wanted to. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's different possession types of possessions, and I will say right now that demonic possession is extremely rare. Most possessions are just earthbound entities. But they have to have some kind of opening. Usually it's like a head trauma, like when I fell off my motorcycle and Wilhelm possessed me. A very bad sick illness where anesthesia, those kind of things. Alcohol and drugs are huge. They create openings for them to come in, and then there's always inviting them in. Like one time, I wasn't being very smart. When I was married to my first wife, we spent the summer in the mountains in a cabin, and there was an old cabin next to it that had a ghost. And my stepdaughter seen him. I'd never seen him with my eyes, but she seen him. And when we were leaving, there's like, we're going to miss him. I said, oh, come on, you can come and just come in with me. And I invited him in, so I ended up having to get Louise to help me. I've never been able to rescue him from myself, so I always had to get somebody else to do it. And I got Louise to get him out, but he's home now, so that's good. But yeah, it's not, they don't just, they have to have an opening. And like I said, being wounded severely, drugs, alcohol, stuff like that will create an opening that they can possess you. And a Ouija board. That's one of the hugest ones. I don't know how many people I've helped that. And because when you use a Ouija board, you're asking them to go into your body so they can move the little indicator around, Well, the entities that go into that are attracted to Ouija boards are not usually that good. They're really low entities. A lot of them never, are what some people would call demonic, but I just call them not human, non-human. And sometimes they don't want to leave, sometimes they stay. Does that answer her question?
We'll see what she says. We kind of have a little delay, like a minute or so. So
okay.
We'll see what she says, if that answered her question. BTO has a question as well, and he is asking, is going into the light actually the reincarnation cycle, to which I feel is part of the entrapment, and does the amount of reincarnation actually affect the memory, earthly/galactic/universe, of those who experience a multiplicity of reincarnations?
That's a very, very good question. And one thing I will say is, like my belief in God, I believe there's something that's God, but I know that my brain cannot comprehend it. So I don't really try to work too much, thought into that. I just accept that there is something. And with the light, I have no idea what goes on once they go into the light. But as far as memory, that memory's in our subconscious. And that's why when I help people find their spirit guide, I will hypnotize them. I never tell them who their spirit guide is. I hypnotize them and let their guide tell them who it is. But it's in the subconscious. They can't. But once you contact that guide in the subconscious and learn and work with them for a while, then pretty soon they will come to your conscious mind from time to time. But the memories are all, according to Casey, the memories are all there. I hope that answered the question. Basically, I'm saying I really don't know.
Yeah, I think he was asking, is it a trap? Because I feel like he feels like going into the light is a trap. That's what I've learned from him, like from things that he said in the past. Is it a trap? And I think he answered part of that question, but as far as the light, I don't think it's a trap.
The way I understand it is, when we die here, if we go to the light, we have the choice of staying there, and there's stuff we can learn in the light. There's like schools, stuff like that. Or we can reincarnate, and often it's the entity will go to the light and then decide. Then it's like a spirit guide. It's like, say, Tessa, say me and you were in the light, and we were friends here, so we knew each other. And you come to me and say, hey, Ron, I'm thinking about going back down. Will you be my guide? I'll say, hey, yeah, let's do this, And so the first thing we would do is decide what lessons you want to learn in this life. And then we would pick a family that would give you the best chance for those lessons to happen. Nothing's written in stone. Everything, we got free will, and so it's not like, okay, you're going to born in this family, and when you're 8 years old, this is going to happen. When you're not, none of that doesn't happen that way. But there are, like, say one of your lessons is to learn about poverty. Well, you're not going to be born into a rich family then. So we'd find your family, and then you go. And then my job as your guide would be to guide you. I know what your lessons are, and my job would be to through your subconscious to guide you and keep you on your path. So yeah, I don't look at it. Actually, I think it's the opposite. I don't think it's a trap at all. I could see where in the dark entities that want to, keep us scared and confused would teach something like that to keep us from going to the light. But no, I'm not going to say the light's the heaven. And I gotta plug this book. I don't know the book. The book's called Afterlife of Billy Fingers, and I don't remember the author. But that book described what I've learned so much to a T, and then plus beyond what I've learned. So I would suggest anybody wanting to learn more about that part of the aspect of the reincarnation that they should read that book.
BTO was also saying, but there's also stuff to be learned in the dark. That's how one masters this universe.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I got to tell you that that's something real new to me. I'm just learning that. It's weird because I've been doing this for 30 years. And just in the last couple of years, I've been dealing with more dark stuff. And, I don't, when I do a rescue, like one lady I had, she contacted me. I found she had 3 entities in her. Well, the house she was living in had some entities in it as well that were as a haunting, and they were not getting along. So there was a lot of stuff going on. Well, when I worked with her, there was a couple of dark entities there, and I didn't do anything with them. It's like as soon as I started working with her, Gabriel, the archangels Gabriel and Michael came in, and they took them away. So I don't even know what they do. So I agree that there is stuff to learn in the dark, and but I'm definitely not an expert on that. I'm just beginning to learn that part of it.
And River was saying, the Ouija board isn't bad. I learned from Karen Dahlman. Well, to me, like, I was able to communicate with my mom, but I know, like you're saying, they have to work through your body to move the planchette. But then other people are saying, well, it's the same as using dowsing rods or any of these other things you're using, but they really do have to, use your body. They're moving your hands around to get this message through. And there's certain rules with the Ouija board, and it's, produced as a parlor game, and kids from the age of, I believe it's 5 or 6 and older can use it. And, they don't read the instructions of how you need to close it and do all these other things. They'll run away screaming and scared and put it away and not close the session. So I think there are ways that it can be bad as far as people not using it correctly. My mentor, she used the Ouija board like a cell phone, and she had invited me over several times. She's like, hey, you want to come and use the Ouija board with us? And I'm like, no, I'm all good, but if you want, I'll film it. And she kind of laughed at me. But yeah, I learned from an early age that this was something not to mess with. I do use dowsing rods, and I know that spirits do help to manipulate that, to get the answers of the yes and no, and the clicking together for the alphabet to get the names and numbers and whatnot. But it is quite different, I think, and what better way to produce a tool to bring dark entities in than to produce it as a parlor game, as, just something for fun, and not to take it seriously as a tool and have a warning on it. Like, there should be a major warning label on there. You need to close this out and end the session, or you're basically leaving a door open for things to come in.
Yeah, and I think there's probably safe ways of using it. Just like, what I do, if somebody just jumped in and tried to do what I do without learning how to protect themselves first, they would, I picked up probably 5 or 6 possessions just doing my work because I get lazy sometimes and don't protect myself. But Same with the Ouija board, but the entities I've dealt with that come through Ouija boards, they lie. I mean, you can't believe them. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying from my experience, I suggest to not use them. Unless if you can use light, whatever your protection method is, you might be okay. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you that they're good or bad. I'm just saying in my experience, I've dealt with a lot of entities through possessions that were none of them were good. They were all bad.
And what you're saying about protection, like I've dealt with that as well. For example, we haven't talked for a while, so I haven't told you this story, but I had a lady who
I'd love to hear it.
She's pregnant and she's about to have a baby, and she's got this entity in her house. And so she's like, hey, I need a cleansing. Well, it's right up the road from me. Everybody on my team is working, so I go up there the next day. Well, the night before, I can't sleep at all. So I'm starting off compromised. I didn't get enough sleep. I pull up. I'm not feeling anything. Generally, when I pull up to a house, I can feel what's going on in there. I didn't feel anything threatening.
Right.
And I didn't protect or cleanse myself before I went in. I went in, showed her cleansing kit that she had purchased, how to use it, and saged the house. And I'm showing her, go in every nook and cranny and crevice, go in your closets, go under the bed, go in the drawers. These things can hide anywhere. At the very end, I didn't cleanse myself either because I'm like, hey, I've been in sage this whole time. I didn't feel anything threatening in there because I think it was hiding. So I didn't cleanse myself afterwards, and I went home. Everything was all well and good. And then I'm carrying a piece of tourmaline in my pocket as protection. As soon as I changed into my pajamas, this thing jumped into me. And this house that I did was right in the backyard of the Catholic Church in Bayfield. Basically, the properties are kind of connecting and overlapping. And so this thing takes hold of me. This is the first possession that I remember, but I know I've had other ones in the past, like partial ones. But I come to behind the wheel of my car. I'm naked. I'm going down Buck Highway, and I'm like, where the hell am I going? I need to go home. I need to go home. And over in my head, I just kept saying, I need to go home. So I turn around, go back home, go in the house, put on my fuzzy pajamas that I was wearing before, and everybody's locked in the master bedroom. The door is locked, and I'm like, okay, this must be for a reason. I go and lay down and I watch TV to fall asleep. And the next morning, instead of my husband coming out and being pissed off at me, he was genuinely concerned. Are you okay? I know that wasn't you. He said, not only did my voice and the things that I said change, but my facial features changed. And he knew it wasn't me. Wow. So he locked himself and the kids in the bedroom. I broke my $1,700 camera. I threw coffee down the hallway. I did so many different things, and all these hateful things were coming out of my mouth towards the people that I love, things I would never say to them. And like I said, he wasn't pissed off at me. He was genuinely concerned. Are you okay? I know that wasn't you. The voice changed. Your face changed. That was not you. Wow. And it was so weird, waking up behind the wheel naked. How does that ever happen, right? In the middle of winter. Yeah. But yeah, it was very interesting and intriguing. And I learned at that point not to ever go out on an investigation or a cleansing when I'm compromised, and to always protect myself. And if I am compromised, I've missed out on several investigations, but my team is very educated and able to handle these things. I'm like, you guys go. I'm compromised because I don't want to harm the person we're trying to help, and I don't want to harm them. So I just stay home and let them run with it.
Smart. Yeah, that's amazing. How did you get him out?
He didn't come back again. I think he was pissed off.
Yeah,
that
they
I
pass
helped
sometimes.
Yeah, that I helped this family, and like I said, I'm less than a mile away from this place. It was right up the road from me. So I think he followed me home. He waited till I took off my clothes, which had my tourmaline in the pocket. He waited till I dropped that, and then about 20, 30 minutes later, he jumped in. And I don't remember any of it.
Wow.
But he hasn't come back again. So that's interesting. But we've had other things going on in the house. I don't know if that's the same thing. Different astral teams have come in and said there was a wraith. My dog, my Gilly dog, she's 17 years old. She's a Boxer Akita pit mix, and she's very arthritic. Like, takes her a while to get down the stairs. She can't, like, jump up on things. She's just kind of scurrying and skiving around to travel, you know? And my 14-year-old goes into the bathroom because she hears this thrashing around. And my Gilly dog is, her head and her front paws are in the toilet. And she's thrashing around. So Nova's trying to pull her out. She can't. And she's so light, you know, because she's just deteriorating because of her age. And she's trying to pull her out. She can't. She's using all her might. And Nova, she takes after my grandma Nova. She's like 6 foot whatever and a very large, beautiful girl. And she's yelling for help, screaming and yelling. And then Davy Joe comes in. He's our nephew that we took custody of. He's 14 years old as well. They're only a month apart. They're both pulling on this dog, trying to pull her out. Nova ends up running into our room, and she's screaming, "Dad, you got to come help us." I did not hear any of this. Whatever it was, like, muted my ears. I was in the Marine Corps. The flick of a light switch or anything so small as that wakes me up out of a sound sleep. And I did not hear anything, and she was upset with me. "How come you didn't wake up? How come you didn't try to help me?" I didn't hear it. I didn't hear anything that was going on, and I don't know what you're talking about. What happened? And she told me the story, and finally, her and Joe were pulling on Gilly so hard, and they said it felt like something was pushing her head into the toilet, and the more they pulled, the more it pushed, and finally it let go, and they kind of flung her across the bathroom, and she was okay. She didn't get hurt, but it was really traumatic on them, and since then, you know, I think it's because we're gifted, not only myself, but my kids and my husband. So it's kind of like a beacon. So we have good spirits coming in looking for help, but we also have dark things coming in. And recently we've had these little kids running around laughing and playing. And it was 2 weekends ago. My husband thought it was my kids. I'm doing my radio show. He goes out there and looks, and then he realizes, oh, the kids are in bed with me. And then comes back to bed. He's thinking maybe it's the after party that we do, and he's hearing sound from that. No, it was pretty quiet in here because I've learned to be quiet because he's got to go to work the next day. And then he hears it again, so he gets up and goes and looks. He doesn't see or find anything. The very next day, Davy Joe comes home from the ranch, and he's like, "Who trashed my room? Like, these things were ripped down, curtains were ripped down, trash was spread everywhere." The funny thing was, he's got his curtains hung up with tacks, but the same tacks that hold up the curtains were holding up his speakers. The speakers were still there, but the curtains were down. Like, how does that happen? So we do have different things coming in and causing chaos.
And how long ago was this?
This was like 2 weeks ago.
Okay. I've been having some crazy stuff too. There's like a huge uprising with the darkness right now, and I don't understand it. In fact, like the other night, I was sitting on my couch. I have a wood stove, and all of a sudden, I mean, the smoke was billowing out of this wood stove, like so bad that I couldn't breathe. I had to run outside before I could come in to see what was wrong, catch my breath. I come back in, the flue was closed, and I didn't close the flue. My dog can't do it, you know. So that was weird. And then a couple days later, my stereo, which hasn't worked in over a year. In fact, the other day, a couple days before that, I was thinking I need to just throw that thing out. All of a sudden, it just starts blaring. And then a couple days later, my air conditioning comes on, which I haven't used in over 4 years. Couldn't even remember how to turn it off, you know. But I could not connect with it at all. I had no idea, and I still don't know what it was. And there's something. And like you said, they know we're spirited or guided. And what I've had where I'm, you know, like say I'm going to work with somebody on a Friday. Sometimes it's hard to get, you know, connect. When can I work with you? When can, you know, I'm available Friday. Well, anyway, 3 days. Okay, well, let's do it Friday. Well, one lady had a really strong possession, and the day before, I heard a baby crying outside, and I'm like, wait, I live out in the boonies. There's no babies, and I realized that must be spiritual. Then I realized that it had to do with her, so I texted her and said, okay, be on the lookout. This thing's not wanting me to help you. It's trying to scare me off, is what it's trying to do. Thinking, it's too powerful. I'm not going to mess with it. So then, 5 minutes after I tell her this, she tells me, "Oh my God, my son's just running into the wall with his head first, and then he cut himself." I'm like, "Oh my God!" So I meditated with her and put the light on her house, and it calmed it down. But right at the same time she was telling me that, a fork went flying across my kitchen. So sometimes they try to scare you off, but they can't do anything but scare you. So that's what's got me a little bit baffled about this latest thing is I'm not connecting with. I don't know what it is, but so far I did get lazy. I usually make my home a sanctuary by using light and sage, and I hadn't done that in a while, so I realized I need to do that. And I hadn't been communicating with my spirit guide like I usually do. I was, getting lazy, kind of veering off of my path. But another thing that people don't realize too is every time we deal with an entity, there's different levels of psychic ability for them too. Like if the entity has very little psychic ability, it's going to be really hard for us to connect with them. But if they have a lot and we have a lot, it's going to be real easy. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and people don't realize that. They just think it's all us, the medium. But no, it's a two-way street. There's a lot of entities that it takes a very strong medium to see that other mediums won't see because they have very little psychic energy.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's something going on. I've had people complaining. A lot of the people I'm teaching and I'm working with, doing the same thing. I used to coach wrestling in Ignacio. This girl I've known since she was in 7th grade. Now she's like 37. Oh my God, I'm getting old. Anyway, I taught her to do rescues, and she's been doing them. But every once in a while, she'll have trouble with one and ask me to help her. Well, man, she had this one that was just crazy strong, and this was just a couple of weeks ago too. But we did get it to cross over. But yeah, there's something going on, and I don't really know exactly what it is. It'd be nice if one of the listeners knew anything about that, or they picked up anything. Maybe it's a regional thing, or I don't know.
It's been interesting because things have seemed to amp up since the full blood wolf moon, and
yes.
Different stuff is going on for different people that generally it's really calm, but now it's just like amped up.
And it's almost like a last gasp, like they're wounded and just fighting for their lives kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's just, I don't have anything to base that on except just what I feel. But yeah, there's something though. It's definitely something. And like I said, a lot of the people that are on my site have been saying the same kind of things that's been going on.
Yeah, it's been interesting, and we did have an eclipse that same night as well. So that was very interesting and intriguing. And I work overnight security, and I've been watching the moon and the stars, and I have to take 6 pictures per hour, which I generally do 10 or 12 because I'm an over-accomplisher. But I'm paying attention to the alignment of these stars with the moon, and wondering what planets these are. Is that Venus and Mercury, or what are these different planets that are lining up, because they're kind of in a straight row. At first, one's on this side of the moon and these two are on this side, and then, they're on this other side of the moon and they're still in this alignment. So I'm wondering if that has anything to do with the energy that's going on and things kind of feeding off of it, being charged by it. Yeah,
that's a good question. And, that's something else I'd like to say, too, to anybody out there. Anybody that you go to that's, claims to be a medium or psychic or whatever they are, if they tell you, they have all the answers, don't just turn around and walk away, because there's so much in the spiritual world that we don't know. it's always a learning experience. I got a good example. I've been working with a young lady for a couple years. She was a really bad cutter. She had like over 300 cuts on her body. And when I first did the reading, aura reading, I sensed a really strong attachment. It wasn't a possession, but it was an attachment. And she didn't want me to help it. She said, "No, I want it to stay." Normally, I would have fought her on that. No, we need to get it out. But there was something in me said, "No, I think this entity's good for her," which totally against everything I believe, because even good entities draw your energy and weaken you, and they can make you sick. They can make you lose psychic energy, everything. But I didn't fight her on it. I'm going to trust her instincts and my instincts. Well, this girl is super, super smart young lady, and she did some research, and she found out that when you went through a lot of trauma with abuse, that that a part of your personality can fragment off and appear as an entity, and that some mediums will actually do like I wanted to do and send it to the light or send it away, and that could be very dangerous. So I learned that from her, and now when I do work with somebody, I'm a little extra careful what they are before I try to release them.
Well, I hate to cut you off, Ron.
Okay.
But we have to go to our first commercial break, so you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these messages.
Looking for nighttime adventure? Old school radio that delves into everything out of the norm? Then check us out at Spaced Out Radio. This is Dave Scott. Every Monday through Friday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we're going to take you on a wild ride ranging from conspiracies to true crime and every ghost, alien, and Sasquatch story in between. We're always live, and we're always interactive with you. So join us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, we own the night.
Hey, guess what? You can now get your brand new Spaced Out Radio swag at spacedoutradio.com. We've brought the store back with all new items for you to pick out and pick up for yourself, your family, or friends. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, we got it all. All you have to do is head to our website and click on Store. Choose what you want and it's shipped to you. The Spaced Out Radio store is right there for you. Come shop with us at spacedoutradio.com. Then we can own the night together.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com. If you're heading to Vancouver, make sure you stop by the official bar of Spaced Out Radio, the Moose Vancouver. It's the place to party in YVR. At the corner of Nelson and Granville, the Moose Vancouver is always up to speed with a kitchen staff that serves great food. All food on the menu, $6.95 to $8.95. There's a reason the Moose Vancouver is recognized as one of the hottest spots on the West Coast. Get your horns up for the Moose Vancouver.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You can follow Tessa on Twitter at TessaTNT, on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. Now, back to Spaced Out Weekend host, Tessa Nicole Thomas.
Hear the sound again, voices dancing in my head, smile wide, drowning slowly as the air goes round.
Hey guys, welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us this evening for Psychic Sunday, which we have Ron Sherman, the rescue medium, on. Hey Ron, welcome back to the show, and thanks so much for joining us.
Hi Tessa, I'm so glad to be here. It's fun.
I know we finally got our sound issues worked out. I don't know what's going on with this. Generally I leave my computers on, but we had issues last night, so I turned it off till right before the show, and then we still had it going on. I had to restart it, and after that it seemed to work. So yeah, we're here, we're live, we're ready, and we got different things going on. So we were talking on Facebook, and you were saying you had different spiritual experiences going on in your life. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm not sure what you... I've done a couple... Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. I'm sorry. A couple things. One, and I have this on my site, but a couple years ago, I was doing an aura reading. Well, let me back up. Okay, this is probably 15 years ago. This one lady wanted me to read her, and I could not read her for nothing. She had sent me 3 pictures a day, and I couldn't, because I read off of pictures. I couldn't pick anything up. Well, one day she sent me a picture with her and her sister-in-law, and I seen the spirit, the energy of a baby, and just inside of her aura. And I said, "Is your sister?" I'd never seen that before. I said, "Is your sister-in-law pregnant?" And she said, "Oh no." I said, "Okay." Well, anyway, the next day she comes back. She's like, you were right. She is pregnant. They were waiting to tell everybody at the same time. So I learned that I could see when women are pregnant, I can see into the baby's energy. Well, a couple of years ago, I started reading this one young lady, and just regular aura readings, I was seeing two, a male and a female entity just outside of her aura. And one of my theories is that some of them, sometimes they're meant to be born, or it's just like when I was talking about me and Tessa, picking a family for Tessa to be born into. It's like you have to wait for that opening. It's not, you don't just go, like, okay, I'm going to be with this family. You still have to have a fertilized egg and all that, the little body to get into. So anyway, my theory was that these two entities were waiting to be born from her. So we started doing an experiment, and once a month during her period, I would read her aura, and I'd see both of them. Sometimes they'd be right above her head. Sometimes they'd be by her shoulders. They're always in different places. But she, all of a sudden, the female was gone, and I was able to get a reading on the male, and it was really weird. It was like all of a sudden this video came on, and I seen this kid, like maybe teens, playing a guitar and like on TV, and just everybody was crazy about him. And it was like, man, this kid's gifted. Well, anyway, just recently, about I guess it was a month ago, she had a baby, and it was a boy. So she sent me a picture of the baby, and I read its aura, and it is the little boy. His name is Wesley, and it's really cool because I believe that we all have certain gifts that we're born with, but we don't always know about them in time to nurture them. So here's a baby that's mom and dad are excited. They're already, buying him musical toys, and they're going to nurture this kid. So it's so exciting to just watch this kid, be able to watch this kid grow up and see what he's going to turn out to be. That was one of my experiences. And actually I told you about the other one with the girl with a fragment personality. I was going to tell you about that. I do have a funny one though.
Yeah, please share.
That cracks me up. I don't always get them just randomly, but I was working out in Arborlees, and this place I was working on was super spiritual. I was getting people entities coming to me left and right, and I don't usually see them. I've probably only seen 10 of them in my life with my eyes. And like I said, that goes back to that. They have the a certain level of gift too, the real gifted ones you might be able to see better. But anyway, this old man walks up to me, and at first I didn't even realize he was a ghost. I was working on the fence, and I'm like, wonder what he wants. And he's like, I heard you can help me. And then right away I realized what it was, and I'm like, yeah. But he didn't want to go yet. He wanted brain. He wanted to see what he's getting into. He's an old farmer, and he wasn't going to be pushed into anything. So he asked me 100 questions about what it'd be like, and then he goes, "Well, will my wife be there?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm sure she will be." Well, I don't want to go then.
So, right? I'll stay far away from there.
Yeah, but actually a couple days later he came back and he was ready, and I called for somebody from the light. It was the wife, and he ran to her and they hugged and went into the light. It was awesome. But I just love that old man. He was so, I don't know, just no nonsense. Don't pull my leg, I won't pull yours, kind of thing. It was really cool. And that's the thing, is they're all different. They're all people. They're all, even the earthbounds. Until they cross over, they have all the baggage that they were born with. Another funny one, a lady here in Durango that I'd been working with, she was addicted to heroin. I work with a lot of drug addicts, just mostly teaching them energy work and meditation, stuff like that. Well, she called me one night and I think there's a ghost in there, and I'm scared. And so I drove to town, and sure enough, when I got there, this is an old wino. And this is another thing, like energy attracts like energy. Wino, where's he going to hang out but a liquor store, you know? But anyway, he was like hiding from me when I walked in. He was like crouched down behind the wine rack. And I started talking to him, and the first thing he says was, "She won't let me buy my wine." I could just see the standing up there with the wine, and her just ignoring him, you know. But he was so frustrated with that. Yeah. So there's always, you know, there's for every scary one you hear, there's always a funny one.
Right? Something that makes you laugh at it.
Yep. Yep.
So, Jade,
but you know, it's a big thing.
Oh, go ahead.
It's a big emotional thing crossing over too. So you do get a lot of seriousness, mostly, you know. Okay,
yeah, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's serious, sometimes it can be scary.
Yeah, exactly.
But Jade in the SOR Space Travelers was asking, Shamas do soul retrieval work, which is done to help people get back to the parts of themselves that have broken away due to trauma.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
You know, that kind of goes into the young lady I was talking about, the aspect of her personality appearing as an entity, and again, that's probably my only experience so far. So I don't know much about it, but I totally believe that. I believe there is, and you know, one thing I've learned too is nothing's sent to me that I can't handle. And lately, like I said, I've been dealing with a lot of dark stuff. And I think it's before I wasn't ready for it, you know, and it's the same thing with maybe now I'm ready for these fragments, because this young lady, who, by the way, I told you she was a cutter, it's almost a year and a month since she's cut herself. So she's doing amazing. It's not me. She's doing it. She's just really her, you know, so many people, she reached out to me. But that right there shows that she's wanting to get better. You know, she came to me like this, you know, the goth, everything demonic. And she's like one of the sweetest girls I've ever met. But yeah, I'm rambling now. But yeah, I do believe there's fragments. And I don't think I've dealt with, I think I've just dealt with my first one. I'm thinking I'll probably get more in the future.
Well, for sure. Are there other things that have been going on in your life lately? Can you tell us some of these cases that you've dealt with these dark entities that you're trying to help?
Yeah. And I think I talked about, I'm trying to remember, it was July when I was on last time. And I was dealing with a lady. I was actually building a fence for her. And she come off as real, you know, to herself, introverted, didn't want to talk, not rude, but well, I felt something, you know, I felt she needed some help. And one day I just started telling her about what I do. And she didn't say anything that day, but the next day she comes back and we talked for 4 hours. And she told me that she'd never told anybody this, but she had a possession. And he was, she said that they were twin flames, which another thing I don't know a lot about. I've heard of them. But he was going to the dark side, and he was trying to take her with him. And it was really strange because I would work on with her and work with him. I actually got to talk to him a few times and trying to, you know, what I was doing with him was showing him the light work, how good it was and how good it felt. And I could feel him coming to me, but then it'd be like all of a sudden she would be totally like a wall around her, didn't want to talk about it. And I realized she was protecting him. And it came to where I actually lost this one. She ended up, we got really close for a while, and then just out of nowhere, I believe he was pulling her apart, but he was attacking me too. I was having nightmares. The last couple times I was at her house, it felt like he was trying to possess me. And there's times you just have to back off. You just say, okay, I'm not ready for this one. And she totally went to him, and we ended up having a big fight and ended up being not really enemies, but not talking to each other anymore. But I actually think that there's more to that story. I think that she's going to come back. But yeah, he was probably one of the darkest ones I ever dealt with. I have dealt with incubus. They're really strange. For those of you who don't know, they're the male entity that folklore calls them demons. I'm not sure if they are demonic or not, but they use sex to bring women in. They get them addicted to the sex and then take their soul. I've never seen it go that far, but I have seen them use the sex on them. And those
the succubus is the female version, and the incubus is the male version.
Yep, and I've never dealt with a succubus, so I've dealt with 3 incubus. The first one I had no idea what it was. This couple came to me and asked me if I'd help them, and it was really weird because when he wasn't around, she was like, yes, please help me, we need your help. But as soon as he was there, he's like, leave us alone, I love him, leave me alone. And it took like months to get her to finally let me get him out, and it was crazy. I can't probably talk about everything on the radio about what I experienced there, but it was pretty crazy. And other dark ones, a lot of them are dark because they think they're dark, not because they actually are. Just like Wilhelm, the one that possessed me, he wasn't, demonic or anything, but he just believed he was dark. And those are, to me, to rescue, those are harder. If they're demonic, you got Michael and Gabriel and Ezekiel and some of the, the angels that will help. But when they're earthbound, it's a psychological thing. You have to find their weakness and, try to get them, talk them into it. One crazy one, I had a young lady came to me she was actually suicidal, had actually attempted suicide, and a friend of mine was a friend of hers, and he sent her to me, and you wouldn't believe the before and after picture. The picture she sent me to read her aura was wow, and then just a couple of weeks after, she was a totally different person, just like what you're explaining with your experience. But this was, and I don't. I'm not going to say I understand it. I don't understand it completely, but he was alien. It was an alien entity. The feeling I got was like he was banished from wherever he was from, and he was just looking for a new home. But the girl was pretty promiscuous, and he liked that. It wasn't like us being sexually aroused. It was more like he was like, wow, look at all these people. They really like this. I wonder what it is. So he was curious about it. Well, when I went to help her, first we couldn't connect, find a time to work together. It was just impossible. We'd have Tuesday 8:00, I'll be there, and 7:00 she calls and says, "Oh, I can't get a babysitter," or something. Something always came up. So I decided to try to do it without her, just to meditate. Well, the first time I had a dream, I went to her house. It was like I was meditating, but I went right into a dream state. And I went to her apartment, knocked on the door, and that's when I realized it was alien. He answered the door, but he had no face. And I asked if the girl was there. I'm not going to use her name because I didn't ask her if it was all right. And he said, no, she doesn't want to talk to you. And this is, remember, dream state. And I got up on my tippy toes and looked over his shoulder, and she was tied up in a chair and taped over her mouth. Well, I tried to rush in to help her, and then I woke up. So that was telling me that, to me, that was him trying to scare me off. Like, look how powerful I am. So then the next dream, I was tied to a chair, and she was on the bed, tied down, naked, spread eagle. And he tells me, I'll let you have sex with her if you leave us alone. And I'm like, I'm realizing that there's a sexual connection here with it. But anyway, I woke up before anything happened on that one too. So then I made the deal. He started contacting me in meditation, and I totally tricked him. I told him, well, because he wanted to have sex with her. That was his thing. I told him that she wants to have sex with me, and what I'll make you a deal, is if you leave her and come into my body, I'll let you take over my body and have sex with her. And he jumped right into my body. And I was able to, as soon as he got into my body, I was able to get him released. But yeah, that, it was just so different and weird. But when the very next day, this lady was on top of the world. She just moved to Denver. She just got a great big raise, making $18,000 more a year than she was here. She's met a new guy that's just wonderful, and her life has just totally turned around. But I wouldn't even know if I'd classify him as dark, or that was just so new to me, that whole experience. But yeah, he was easy to trick out, that's for sure. But they do that. They try to make you think they're so powerful that that you don't have a chance dealing with them. But the first time he tried to make a deal with me, I knew that he didn't have any power over me, because why would he even want to make a deal if he had total control of it? He'd just keep her. So I knew I had him when he did that. I don't know, that might be a little too weird. Are you there?
Okay, so what I was saying, sorry, I lost you for a minute.
That's all right. I thought we got disconnected.
I thought so too, and then I realized my mute button was on my mic because I had background noise going on. I was like, oh no, what's happening? I have to reboot. But it was just my mic was muted. Thank goodness. But I often say fact is stranger than fiction, and it truly is. Like, there's so many weird things that happen. You can't make this stuff up.
Right.
But I have a couple things here from BTO in our chat room. One thing, and this is something I've heard him say before, when we enter this universe, we fragment. We become souls, then fragment into traveling spirit, then become galaxies, solar systems, planets, and then experience being all life forms. As for a human being, fragmenting as in detaching him or herself from him or herself, that only means that the person is not reintegrating and is continually fragmenting, and that's certainly not a good thing. But then he had a question as far as, Ron, do you know anything regarding archons?
I don't. That's a totally... Yeah, the fragmentation stuff is really over my head. I do believe it. I've read stuff about it, but yeah, it's not something that I've dealt with at all yet.
Okay, and then...
I'd like to learn more about it, that's for sure. And a lot of that book I was talking about, the Afterlife of Billy Fingers, talks about a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with not knowing, as long as you can say that. We're continually learning, and there are no experts out there. And anytime you do come across somebody that says they're an expert, be forewarned that they're probably full of BS.
Exactly. And it's so easy when you've done a couple really good readings to start feeling that way. It's so hard, the ego. It's so hard to keep that thing under control sometimes. But yeah, you're right. Nobody's an expert.
So I have 8 pictures here that I wanted to share with you as far as our aura readings, and being that we have 8, we might want to start right now. Sure. Can I send that to you on Messenger on your phone? Can you see them, or do I need to send it somewhere else?
No, okay. I can see them on the phone.
Okay, so our first one is Sir Robin, and I just sent that one to you. Looks like it's taking a minute. Loading. Okay. But yeah, I did have that.
On Facebook Messenger?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see anything yet.
Yeah, still loading. For some reason, it's working really slow. I don't know what the issue is. Maybe I should go and try it this way. Hold on one second. I canceled that because it was taking forever.
Right.
But here, let me scroll down to where you're at and just send it this way. So, okay. So first we have Sir Robin. So there's that one. And there it goes.
Okay, I usually like to see all 7 chakras, but this is a crown. For a really good reading, though, I'd need to see from the waist up.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard because people are alone, and so they're just trying to take a selfie really quick.
Right, and people never think about the timer. I've always telling people use the timer, but yeah, that's cool. I can tell him what he got around his head. I kind of have to almost go to a meditative state sometimes.
No worries.
But I'm seeing, what's his name again? Sir Robin?
Yes, Robin is his name.
Robin. It's very thin. And I will say I usually can only see the first layer too. I think they call it the ethereal layer. But I have my own method. The colors don't usually mean much to me. What I look for is how thick it is, how bright, and how fluid. How much if it's all one color. The perfect aura would be like about 8 inches thick, and all one color and very bright. And I will say I've never seen the perfect aura. But I'm really sensing some depression with Sir Robin. I'm seeing it's like almost a grayish green cloud over his crown. Definitely could use a chakra cleaning. And I can do that too over the phone.
And if you feel like we have time, you can do that. But yeah, go ahead with your question.
Can you ask him? Is he feeling depression?
And he can hear you, but let me message him just in case.
Okay.
And Robin St. Charles is his full name.
Okay.
I know he's got issues with seizures and such.
I helped a lady a couple of years ago. The one I told you about with the little boy hitting his head against the wall on the fork.
Mm-hmm.
She was having seizures. She'd been having seizures for over 3 years, and the doctors couldn't find them. And after we got her entity out, she hasn't had a seizure in 2 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's doing so good. She left and got out of an abusive relationship. She's working 2 jobs, taking care of her kids. She's growing every day. I'm so proud of her. I'm seeing I'm seeing really, it's almost gray, but green. And usually I see a spike, which usually tells me that there's some type of communication with a guide or an angel, some kind of spiritual help. I'm not seeing that at all. I'd really like to work with him. Okay, I'm starting to see a little bit more. Gosh, it's really thin. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Ask him if he has been having like what's it called excuse me, like cravings and stuff that he's never had before, like the lady I was just talking about. She said that she had cravings for seafood even though she absolutely hated seafood.
Did you ask her if she was pregnant?
Right.
Well, it said he was active on Messenger an hour ago, but I did send him these 2 things. He hasn't read them yet, and I'm not seeing him in the chat room, so I'm wondering
okay,
if
we
he
can
fell
come back.
asleep.
Let's come back to him. Maybe. And you sent the second one. I know that guy. I think he sent one last time.
Yeah, that's River. And
River. Hey, River.
Yeah, River Millican.
Okay. And I have to say, I'm diabetic, and I've been having trouble with my eyes in the evening. But
oh, goodness.
I know it's really kind of scary.
Is that a new development for you?
In the last 4 or 5 months, yes. They just upped my medicine, and it's been helping.
Goodness gracious. Well, yeah, I'm glad that you got medication and you're getting some help for that, because that can be scary.
I'm seeing sometimes it's hard because he's got a blue shirt on, and sometimes I have to use my finger to hold over it so I'm not seeing the blue reflecting. And I see actually a really nice yellow, almost orange, from his throat chakra down. And he's got a big buildup on his shoulders, which usually tells me he's got some burden that he's bearing. Actually, he has a nice violet going across from his throat chakra up over his crown, which is usually a spiritual. And he definitely has some spikes, some green energy. But he has a block in his throat chakra, and I'm guessing he's an empath. Almost every empath I ever read has a block in their chakra on their throat. And I would say that he's having, there's a nice green. I'm seeing actually 2 layers of him. I think this man has some psychic ability, definitely large amount of psychic ability. But I bet he's having trouble communicating. Not so much communicating doesn't always mean, just talking to somebody, but it's understanding people. Like, you say things that nobody wants to understand it, or you feel like nobody wants to take the time to listen. You feel like everybody talks over you and you're not being taken seriously.
Yeah, and you do get that a lot. I don't know, like you were saying earlier, you can't help yourself with possessions, and it's the same as reading yourself and giving yourself advice. It takes other people to give it to you, but
Exactly.
you say certain things to people, and sometimes people don't take you seriously, or they don't understand where you're coming from. And he said he's listening, so he's hearing what you're saying, and he said you're spot on.
Okay, good. Ask him, or I guess I can ask him. Do you do any spiritual do you do readings? Or I can see that you definitely have the ability. Are you actively using the gift? And that could mean just for your own purpose, like you're driving somewhere and all of a sudden you get the feeling that you shouldn't be driving that way, and later you find out there's a crash that way. But a very good aura overall. It's a very good aura. Very
He
good,
said,
strong.
He's trying and he's learning, and he said yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I could work. I'd be glad to. If I was to work, ask him. Does he know his spirit guide? Or I guess I'm asking, huh?
He said he's working on his gifts. And River, do you know your spirit guide? He said thank you. Hopefully he'll come through in just a second and say whether or not he knows his spirit guide, which a lot of us don't.
Right, and that to me, that's the. Without my spirit guide, I'd be gone. I'd be lost. I actually have 2. I have Aaron, who's always with me, and I have Claire, who shows up when I really screw something up. She's like, yeah, like I always see her with her like shaking her head, like, oh, you didn't. But,
yeah, it's funny. He said, I don't know them all, but I know I have some spirit guides. One is my grandma who passed.
Okay, that's a common thing. Your grandma very likely and probably definitely communicates with you, but a spirit guide is somebody you don't know in this life. It's somebody you knew from a past life. So my grandma's all constantly with me too, but they're not really guides. They will work as guides, but they're not like you're assigned to you kind of thing. They just love you and they want to be around you and help you. But yeah, it won't be anybody you know in this lifetime.
That's interesting that you're saying that, because a lot of us feel like our ancestors and our family pass over and they try to help us, which I feel is true because I hear my parents talk to me all the time. But do you find when your spirit guides talk to you, do you hear their voice, or does their voice sound like your voice?
Yeah, at first it's really hard when I introduce somebody. Like I do a hypnosis session, and usually over the phone, and I get them to the point where I think they're relaxed enough, and I'll ask them, just ask who your spirit guide is, and they'll usually hear a name just like a thought, and that's how it starts. But the more you work with them, the more you're going to hear after a while, and it takes a while. People get what's it called? They lose hope because they're not hearing it right away. But it takes practice. But after a while, you'll actually hear a voice once in a while. But they'll communicate with you in different ways too. Like I can tell you a quick story. And I think I told you on this last show. But to me, it's one of the best ways of showing how they'll get the point across when they can't talk to you. But an ex-girlfriend, before I met her, and this was when she told me the story, I didn't even know what spirit guides were. I didn't realize what it was until later. But she had been in a very, very abusive relationship, and she finally got the strength to tell her husband she was leaving. Well, he freaked out and burned their house down and kidnapped their son. Well, she had no idea where he went to, and she called the police, and the police are like, well, if they looked around where they thought and couldn't find him. So she hired a private detective who said, well, if you don't know approximately where he's at, there's no way, we can do it. So, if you can tell us a city he's at or something. But she had no clue. Well, after that, she started seeing the number 444. Like she'd buy something, it'd be $4.44. Look at the clock at 444. And not only her, but her friends and her family started seeing the number. They called it her number, Brenda's number.
Could it be a mile marker?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to. So then her friend, because she was told, you can imagine how depressed she was. Her son, was kidnapped. And it was almost a year later, her friend was like, well, I got to go to Albuquerque to pick up my dad from the airport. Would you want to ride along just for a change of scenery? And she said, yeah, let's do that. I'll do that. So they go there, pick up the dad, and they're coming back I-25. And you know how on the mile markers, they'll say the next 3 biggest towns, like, well, it said like Santa Fe, 85, Colorado Springs, 200 and something, and probably not right. And Denver, 444. And she's, oh my God, this was before cell phones. Get me to a phone. So her friend took her to the phone. She called her private detective, said he's in Denver. 2 days later, they arrested the husband in Denver, and she got her son back. So that's how spirit guides will work with us too. That's not always just verbal communications. Yeah, I just got a photo from you. But
yeah, I just sent that. Yeah, we're keeping them in line. So, Char was just asking if you could connect with her deceased loved ones through that pic, but we'll get to that later because we have people in line waiting for their reading. Okay. But it's cool how what you're talking about, these messages come through and you get these different things going on, and the repeated numbers, it means something.
Yeah, it always means something. It's they're trying to get your attention. Usually a spirit guide could be an angel, could be, you know, your grandma, you know, just somebody's trying to get your attention. You need to pay attention to those things. I tell people that get those to write down what they're feeling at the time, what they're doing, you know, what's going on. And each time they see that number, and then pretty soon they'll see a pattern. Okay, so, God, I'm sorry, I'm really terrible with names. Rivers?
Yes, River Milliken, he's the one with the full body, which you were asking for.
Yeah, that's an awesome. His aura's good. He definitely needs to get a chakra cleaning, get that throat cleared. And there's all kinds of different. You can do that yourself too, and I'd be glad to help you. I do that through guided meditation also. But anybody that wants to join my site is closed because I don't want it to be just a bunch of people asking for readings, you know, and then disappearing. I want people that, you know, want to learn and you know, contribute. But any of you that want to join, just send me a friend request on Facebook, and I'll send you a link. And I'd be glad to help anybody. River, I'd be glad. I can see that he's a very good soul. He's got a good energy. I really like him.
Yeah,
we could hang out together.
He wanted me to thank you for him. He said thanks so much. He appreciates it.
Oh, you're welcome.
And he'll add you on Facebook. And he's a really cool guy. And I know he'll be there and not just get a reading and run off, because he is very in tune and wanting to be a part of things. So I know he'll be there after the reading and try to contribute to the page, which is Psychic Grapevine, correct?
What's that?
Psychic Grapevine.
Yep. And I don't mean to sound like not to ask for readings. That's fine, you know, ask for readings, but don't make that your only purpose for going. I had a site years ago, and that's what I get. They'd come on, want a reading, then they just disappear, you know.
Yeah.
And some of them don't even say thank you. You know, free reading, and there's like, oh, okay.
Bye-bye now.
Yeah. But,
well, our next one comes from Christopher. And let me see if I could find his last name. Christopher Wayne Fisher.
Christopher Wayne. Another headshot.
Christopher Wayne Fisher. Yeah, he's kind of alone there. He's had some things going on, but for sure he's taking his own pick because he doesn't have anybody to help him take that full body pick.
Right, and that's a common thing I get. I'm seeing a lot of color, like almost like a rainbow color in his crown. And what that usually tells me is, I guess the best way to say it is spiritual confusion. People they want help, they want to do something, but they're not sure how to go about it. I'd say the predominant color, though, is blue, maybe indigo. I'm not seeing any spikes. Oh yeah, definitely indigo on his shoulders. And when if I can, like if I could see the aura on from their shoulders down, you know, because really when I only see a headshot, I'm only seeing the 3 chakra points. There's 4 that I'm not seeing, but and it's the lower ones that I call the base color. Those are the colors that you'd want to look up what your personality traits are and stuff. Well, I can't see them with just a head, but yeah, I can definitely see there's some trauma. I feel that he had some abuse very young that he's never dealt with, never gotten closure with. I feel some abandonment issues. But again, with just seeing the head, it's hard to get a lot. I don't see what looks like a possession, although I will tell you right up, I don't always see possessions in auras.
Yeah,
but
and
sometimes
what you're saying, he's got a lot of spirits communicating with him and trying to connect him with his past family and such, and so there could be some confusion there. He's trying to figure out, where should I go, and and he's learning so many different things, so there could be some sort of confusion there, and I know he's dealt with abuse and such, so I think you're pretty right on there. But let's see what he says. I know he's going to come through here in just a sec. I have to scroll back up because there's a question I was looking at. Okay, keep going.
And again, I'll be glad to work with him, outside of this. Friend me, and I'll be glad to help him. I see, I'll have to, I'm going to tell you a quick story. I was helping a young lady. She was having some depression. Well, all of a sudden she was having nightmares about her uncle. And she was worried that maybe he molested her when she was young. So I did a regression with her and took her back. What I do in the regressions, and it depends on the person, and you have to be really careful because you could scare them or cause actually more trauma. Like with her, I took her to a happy place, a happy time, and then it was a couple days later before I took her to where she was concerned about. Well, it turned out that she was, I think, 3 years old, and she was spending the night with her aunt and uncle, and she was sleeping on the couch, and she was having a nightmare, and her uncle came out to comfort her. Well, in her psyche, she associated the nightmare with her uncle. Her uncle was actually a loving, caring man, just, worried about he wasn't molesting her or anything. But because she was having a nightmare and her uncle was the first one she's seen, she thought, oh my God, he did something to me. And that stuck in her subconscious for all these years. Well, once we did this session, she was able to forgive him. I guess you don't really forgive somebody that didn't do anything, but to her it was like forgiving. And last time I talked to her, they've been great, best friends again, best friends. So, those old traumas, they get stuck in there and we don't deal with them, and they fester until they come out. But yeah, I would definitely like to help him out too. Next one, this looks like a fun lady. Okay, hi, Crystal. The blue, I can't really see the aura very good. Yeah, that's exactly my problem. And then you start guessing. Crystal, if you would get a picture with a white background, I'd be glad to help you out and read your aura. She looks like a fun girl, though. You can definitely see the family resemblance there. Oh, really?
We were really good friends before my husband and I met, and she actually dated my little brother, and then I met her uncle, and we became engaged and then married. But yeah, she's amazing. She's an amazing person. I love her so much.
So yeah, I love her energy. I'd like to see her aura.
Yeah, I'm asking her now for a white background pic. Hopefully she'll send that, and I'll send that to you. Let's see.
Awesome.
Who do we got next? Let me see. So next we have Daryl, and she's got a pic there on a white background. She's kind of off to the side, but I'm hoping you can pick something up for her. Daryl Perry A.
Daryl? Okay, Daryl. Let's see. I'm seeing the energy, not getting the color quite yet. Oh, she's got a really nice spike into her throat, right into her throat chakra. And that's usually a sign of spiritual communication. I think she could probably be a medium. I'm not getting the color. Well, maybe. Could be silver. Could be a silver aura. Sometimes I keep waiting. I'll see the energy first, and then it doesn't turn to color, and that's usually a silver aura, and that's what I'm getting. But she definitely has gold going over her crown. I can't see over her head, the real crown area. But I would assume that goes all the way around, which is usually somebody spiritual. You don't want to get a reading or anything with somebody that doesn't have gold over their head of some kind. And another thing with what I've learned from auras, and one thing about auras too is you can get 6 books, and each book is going to tell you something completely different of what you're trying to figure out. That's why I've been building up like a little database of my own. Like, this person has a blue, what are they like? And I can compare them. But the body aura doesn't change that often, but the aura over your crown does. And I would say she's definitely spiritual, definitely gifted. I think she's probably communicated, maybe even gone as far as astral traveling. Very, very, she has a lot of potential there. But like I said, I can't really see her whole aura again. Send me a full body one, and I'll be glad to give you a good. Usually with when I do aura readings, the way I usually do them, I do it in meditation, and my reading's usually like 2 to 3 pages long. Ooh, I just seen a face, and then it disappeared. Ooh. Right over her left shoulder, right above the clock. She has a definite entity in that house.
Yeah, and is it male?
Daryl?
No, I mean the entity that you saw for a second there. Is it a male
I don't
entity?
know. Yeah, it was male. Yes, it was. It almost looked like a little gangster, but he didn't show for just for a second.
Yeah, he keeps coming through pulsing. I see his whole body outline there. Yeah.
You know what it is? He's wanting to come through, but he's having a hard time doing it. I would love to meditate with her and see if we could find that guy.
That'd be awesome.
I
see him.
He's attracted to her. He knows she can help him. He's there. She could rescue him. She definitely could. But they sense that, it's like, the way I describe it is like sometimes we're a light in the middle of the desert, and all they can see is that light, and they just come to it because it's the only thing different than all the darkness, They don't even know why they're coming to it. They're just like, okay, I don't know why I'm here, but here I am. That's what I'm getting with her. I would love to help her, work with her.
And she does. She has an amazing energy, and I know she's going through a lot. She's got scoliosis and stuff going on, and I'm dealing with that. Okay. But yeah, like you're saying, like I'm looking at it now, I don't see it, but then I look again, and there it is. Yeah. You can see the outline of its body, and then it's gone. How does that happen with a picture? Like, it shouldn't be in and out, but weird. It actually is.
Yep, I've seen that before. Usually when they show themselves like that, they're wanting help. They're not hiding. They're like, I'm over here. Look at me.
Yeah, he's trying, but his energy.
I'm gonna meditate. Probably tomorrow. I'm gonna meditate on her picture, see what I can come up with.
And I always say this, like, I try to share contacts, but sometimes, like, there's so much stuff going on that I kind of lose track. But I'll definitely try to send you these different contacts so you can follow up with them, like with Christopher and with Daryl, and we'll see what we can get done for them. And
I had that problem the last show I did was I got bombed, and then I lost track of who everybody was, and a lot of people, and I apologize, a lot of people I didn't get to get back to because I wasn't sure who they were. I got to figure out a better system. But,
yeah, it's kind of like you got to go back and re-listen to the show and take notes, but it takes time. And like I said, life keeps you so busy. It's hard to go back and listen and take those notes. And so if we can help each other out with that, we can get it done.
Right.
But I'm hoping I can just go on tonight and do that. But right after the show, I do the Skype after party, and so I do kind of lose track because we talk about so many different things. But it'd be so awesome if you could connect with these guys and figure out what's going on with her and her entity that's there, and with Christopher and River and so on and so forth. But, you know, Ron Sherman is his name, and he's also got the page Psychic Grapevine, and a really amazing guy.
Well, thank you. I think you're pretty amazing, too.
Yeah, when I first met you, we actually went for sushi, and I was like, holy shnikes, like, just the energy coming off, and then all these stories you're telling, and it was pretty interesting and intriguing. It's so cool to meet different people and get different perspectives going on, for sure. Oh, yeah. And that, you know, it's so important to have an open mind with all of it, too, because, like, there's things you do different than I do. You know, I find people that want to argue with you. No, it's not that way. Well, it is for me, you know. If it's not for you, then that's fine. But, you know, you got to find what works for yourself. And if it works, then, you know, then why fix it, you know? Yeah, okay. Like I told Skype, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But they did. And so we have this issue with the conference call where if people call in, I have to hang up on or mute the person that I'm talking to in order to take this call. But how does that work when you're trying to do readings and such? And so I've been doing the different computers and putting my meteor mic in my ear under my headphones so the person calling in on this computer can hear and you can hear me on this computer, and hopefully it goes through. But yeah, it's been interesting. Christopher just came through and said I was crashed. But on that note, we have to go to our second break, so you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Heading to Vancouver,
this is fun.
Looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com, and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and I want you to come on a nightly journey. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every Monday through Friday, you can come hang out with me and the other space travelers. We have it all from Carl the Alien bouncing on by to those misfit gnomes causing havoc. It's 3 hours of fun and entertainment on those topics the mainstream really doesn't want to touch. Come get all paranormal with us at spacedoutradio.com, and together, my friends, along with our resident guitar god Bumblefoot, we own the night.
Sit back, relax, grab a drink, and listen closely. Spaced Out Radio continues through the weekend. From the mile-high mountains of Colorado to you, listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Weekend with Tessa Nicole Thomas.
Yeah, coming back into the third hour, and we got Ron Sherman with us, and I love that re-intro music there. I'm always like, we should have that for second hour, but third hour it pumps me up and keeps me going. Did you enjoy that music? Like, that was crazy.
I didn't hear it.
Oh,
I heard you though.
I put my headphones over there, so I hoped you could hear it, but I guess you couldn't. But you could hear me.
I just heard you. That was pretty good. I was dancing.
Yeah. Getting pumped up.
Toe tapping.
Right. So, we're doing aura readings, and we left off with Miss Daryl. The next one we have going is Rosemary.
Okay. Ooh, that's a very dark background.
Yeah, it's supposed to be white, but I think she's kind of away from it. She didn't have a flash going on because she's doing the selfie thing again, which we've been having going on a lot
I know
tonight.
I sound so picky. Some people have the hardest time, and it is hard, but yeah, I can't see her aura at all.
Okay.
I would like to.
I'll message
Again, send
her
me one.
again and see if she can get a brighter one.
Okay. Yeah, tell her the sheet, either lay on a sheet or hang up a sheet, works really good.
Yeah, the first one I got from her, because I was telling people you could lay on your bed and do your sheet background and whatever, and she was on her bed and it was kind of black, and then there was darkness kind of around, and I was like, no, not like that. I'm talking about a white sheet. And then the next one is Nick, and he's also on a dark background as far as wood.
Yeah, darn it. Yeah, I can't see anything there. I could see the energy. I just can't make the color. It's a very strong energy. Darn it. I know I'm so too particular, but if you can't see him, you can't see him, Yeah, I can't see his either. Again, give me a white background. I'll be glad to give you a good reading.
Hold on a second. Okay, so the next one is Mooney, Kevin, and he sent a Head and Shoulders, but if you go down a couple, he sent a above that. He's actually got more of a full body going on from the waist up, flexing his muscles.
I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is better. Oh gosh, nice light blue. Light blue would be your base color. Like I say, I don't put that much into. Ooh, definitely a block at the heart chakra, which that's kind of sounds cliche, but usually means heartbreak of some type, and a big buildup of red below the heart chakra, which is red. Usually, it could be different emotions. It could be anger. It could be strong emotion. So it could be I'm trying to get a feel here. That actually could be an attachment. Can you see it, Tessa? The right below his heart chakra on the left side. There's like blue from his chest to his elbow, and right below that is like a big red splotch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know he's got different paranormal stuff going on in his room. Even, since he was younger, and he wrote a prayer on his door and had different things going on with that. So I could totally get that he has an attachment, and I'm wondering, could it be his mom, or is it something else?
Yeah, I would have to meditate with him to find that out, but usually with an aura reading, it's kind of like a triage thing. It's like I could see, okay, this is a possible possession, and then what I would do is do a guided meditation, and that's when I find out the good stuff. Again, I would be glad to help him do that, but I would say that's a definite attachment. And can't. Oh wow, it's that red goes all the way down to his navel. Yeah, I would say there's definitely, it could be a full possession, it could be an attachment. Like I said, this is like triage. I'm not. Oh yeah, I'm seeing his crown now. Yeah, and see, there's a good. It's a horizontal spike going to his third eye.
Yeah, it kind of goes off to the right there, right? The flare.
Yep. So that usually tells me that he's got somebody on the other side helping him. So it looks to me like he's kind of like a rope in a tug of war. this attachment's pulling him one way, and the helpers are trying to help him, and I could help him with that. I could help him communicate with them, and if that is an attachment, I can help him get that out. And I'm sorry, what was his first name again?
Kevin. His name is Kevin McDougal.
Kevin. Ooh, I like McDougal. That's a good name. Looks like a lot of fun too. So again, yeah,
he's a ton of fun. He's loads of fun for sure, and he's very helpful. He's been helping me with my spiritual stuff going on here. He's such a great guy. I love him to death.
Awesome. Yeah, he looks like a good character. It's like somebody I'd go have a beer with. But again, yeah, send me or get in touch with me after this, and what I would do. The first thing I'd do is help him find his spirit guide if he doesn't know it already. That'd be the first session. Second session would be just a regular, relax him really, really strongly. It's hypnosis, but hypnosis, meditation, it's all the same. Visualization, it's all just different names. It's basically relaxing and communicating with your subconscious. But I would help him do that for sure. Or if he knows how to do that. It's always hard to do it on yourself, though. But yeah, again, I would help him too.
Yeah, I totally agree. It is hard to do for yourself, giving yourself advice or helping yourself with different attachments. It's so much easier for somebody else to come in and help you with that. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
And even with me, with close friends, it's hard to read because you get, sometimes the reading is, it's like, okay, is that my thoughts or is that, being sent to me? And when you're like, say I'm reading for you and like, I want Tessa to do good. So I'm going to be like, wait, am I forcing that? Am I forcing that she's going to find $1 million under her pillow tomorrow? Yeah. So it's hard for me to read people that I'm close to.
Yeah, it definitely is because you have that, you want the best for these certain people and it's hard to discern between the two.
Right.
So if you go up, go ahead.
I have a good story about that, believing that intuition. Years ago, I don't even know how long ago it was, probably 20 years ago, a lady came to me and said that her brother was arrested and was going to spend a long time in prison. And he had an infant, and she was trying to get custody of the infant. But also an aunt was trying to get custody, so it was going to court. And she asked me if I could do a reading and tell her she's going to get the baby. Well, I did a reading. Oh, and the reason they wanted this baby so bad is her and her husband couldn't have their own baby. So I did a reading, and I seen her holding a baby. So I told her, "Yep, you're getting it." 2 days later, I get an email, and she's cussing me out. You just tell people what they want to hear, and blah, you're fake, you're a phony, and blah, blah, blah. And oh, my God, my confidence was shot. I didn't do a reading for 3 months. And then I get an email from her. Oh, my God, I have to apologize to you. I'm so sorry. She was pregnant. So
oh, wow.
we gotta trust our intuition, I was wrong about her getting the baby from the custody, but I was right that she was going to get a baby.
Yeah, she'd be holding a baby.
Right. So, yeah. But anyway.
The next one we have is from Char, and I believe she's the one on, I want to say the upper portion. It's the one with 2 ladies in it. And she was wondering if you could get anything from her past or deceased loved ones coming through on this pick. And it's the one in between the 2 Kevin picks.
Gotcha, I see it. The lady, like, being with her arm across the other lady's chest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd probably have to do a meditation on that one. I do feel something. I feel like there's like a maybe teenage boy.
There's definitely a young man involved. And
Yeah.
Kevin was saying thank you, Ron, for your reading that you did for him just recently, right before this one.
Oh, you're welcome, Kevin. Yeah, I'm picking up a young man. It's like he, I'm seeing, at first I thought he was like an accident, but it looks like an illness that took his life.
I think you're right on your first instinct on that.
Accident.
According to them, it was an accident. She thinks it was something else, but
Yeah, I feel that confusion, like it's not what you think it was. Mm. But I would sure like to do meditate with this lady and see what we could come with. I'd hate to, in this just haphazardly going through it.
And her name is
Sharon,
but she goes by Shar. But for sure, hopefully you guys can get connected. And you guys just look at my friends list, look for Ron Sherman, and that'd be the easiest way to find him. Instead of counting on me to add you as a friend request or whatnot, to find him would be easiest to look through my friends list and find Ron Sherman. And he'll definitely be able to help you out some more and spend some more time with you guys.
Yeah, I already got River joined up to the Grapevine.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing angel wings on him as well. On this pic that Sharon shared. Like he's got an amazing energy going on.
It's almost like the feeling I'm getting is I know you're upset about what happened, but it's happened and it's over, to move on. But I hate to be hasty with a message.
I think that pretty much says it. Like, it's so hard to let go of those things because you do want some sort of form of justice or something going on there, and it's so hard to let go. Like, you don't let go of the person. Always remember them and talk to them, whether it's out loud or in your head, because I know he is there with her and he's looking over her and wants the best for her, but he doesn't want her to be hurting the way that she is. He wants her to find happiness again.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm feeling. Yeah, move on. Keep me. I'm with you. We'll be together again, but don't dwell on the pain.
Yeah, and she said she wanted a message, which we just shared. He wants you to be happy. He doesn't want you to dwell on the negative, because really I don't think there's a lot that you can do, because excuse me, once law enforcement makes up their mind, it's really hard to make them go a certain direction. But he knows you do think about him every day. He's there with you, and he wants you to be happy, and he wants you to go to greener pastures. Like, don't dwell on the negative. Don't dwell on these things that you can't help. Move on, be happy, and move on with your life and find happiness instead of letting this kind of get you down.
Yeah, and it's funny because he's showing me like a really happy little puppy. Like a little, God, I can't even tell, like a poodle maybe? White puppy. And it's almost like, this is what I want you to be, as happy as this little puppy.
Mm-hmm. And she deserves that, for sure.
Yep. But I'll be glad to do a further reading on that too. And I just accepted her friend request. So anybody that friends me, I'll send you an invite to the Grapevine after this is over.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so glad she found you. I'm like,
me too.
Worried about, are people going to be able to do this? But yeah, it's pretty simple. Once you go to my page, because I'm friends with most of these people on here that are in the chat room. I don't know about other listeners. But you just go to Tessa in Thomas Peterson, and look at my friends list, and you'll find Ron Sherman in there. Friend him, and then he'll add you to the Grapevine, and you guys can message each other and get a more in-depth reading, because we're kind of trying to skim because we have so many coming in. But yeah, it can be difficult trying to get the full reading that we're looking for, being on radio for just a small amount of time.
Right.
Oh, she said she did not send a friend request. That was her hacker. Weird.
Oh, no. Huh.
So maybe you should disregard that one. Hopefully she'll come through.
I just got Kevin on.
Sweet.
Yeah. More friends. I love making new friends. That's one thing I like about doing this show. Looks like he's a Rolling Stones fan.
Oh, and Sharon Bowles said, "No, Shar, that was me just now." So that was Sharon Bowles, and not.
Oh, okay, yep.
So, okay, don't disregard that. Keep her on there.
All right.
And then the other Sharon should come through here shortly after the show, hopefully.
Okay,
but yeah,
cool.
Good thing that wasn't the hacker, because I was like, holy crap, I thought we got rid of that. But Chrissy is the next one on, but she's got kind of a yellow background going on, and I messaged her again, and I told her we need a lighter background, we need a white background. So hopefully she'll come through, and I'm like, don't worry about how beautiful you look. Let's get a white background because we're looking at your aura, not your physical presence.
Right. Yeah, I get, you in blue. What I get sometimes.
Right.
I've gotten, like, nudes. Like, what am I supposed to read here?
You're like, okay, I'm distracted now.
Yeah.
Trying to focus.
Well, I used to advertise on Craigslist, so you know.
Right? It can get Confucius.
Yeah, you get all kinds of stuff. It was interesting.
So the next one we have is Sandra Heath, and she's got a bit of a white background going on there with the light in the background.
Right. Wow. I just got a feeling of heat right on my crown. I don't know what that's about. And her name's Sharon?
Her name is Sandra Heath.
Sandra. Okay. I'm zooming in. Yeah, darn, I'm just really having a hard time seeing it. My eyes might be getting a little tired, too. It sucks getting old.
Getting old ain't for sissies.
I tell all my younger friends, don't just say no.
Yeah, right. Just say no. Stay young. I know you're like, stay in your 20s, and I'm like, it's a little too late for that. Like, I'm 40 already, but okay.
Right. Yeah, you don't look your age, that's for sure.
Nah, I got some good genes going on.
Yeah, you do. You're like a perpetual teenager, and I love that. Yeah, I'm not seeing Sandra's aura either. Gosh, I get frustrated when I can't see them.
Yeah, I'm thinking if the background was brighter,
it'd
be easier to see, but the light is kind of distracting as well. We need a lighter background. Go into the bathroom and take a picture, you know?
Right.
Generally, bathrooms are white or light or something. Dang it.
Yes, well, bathrooms. I've had a lot of bathtub pictures, that's for sure.
Yeah, because generally you do have the lighter background going on with that. And unfortunately, Nick is having issues getting his. And Mooney was saying, my eyes do the same thing, Ron. Get that tired blur even when you're not tired. It's just the whole coming of age thing going on.
Right. And it might be the picture too, though, but
Nick sent this picture, but it's not really a white background. It's kind of a cropped picture, and I'm not sure if this is going to work. But I'll send it anyways, although I don't think this is going to work. But We'll see what you have to say about it. Because
Okay.
it is a cropped Trip tried to help him out with this. And I'm like, it's kind of cutting out the aura.
Yeah, I've had other people do that too. Yeah, it's pretty funny. One lady did it without. She did like a what's it called, where you can impose one picture on another picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you don't have an aura. And then she's like, oh, well, maybe it was because I cropped it and put it on. Like, yeah, that's why.
Yeah, cropping doesn't help because you are cutting out that energy, and even though it's white around him, it's not. You can't see the aura that's actually there.
Right, you cut it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need the white background. Sorry, buddy.
Well, we're kind of at a standstill at this moment as far as auras go. Are there other subjects and topics that you'd like to talk about until we do get some more picks in?
Let me think a second here. Here, I made some notes. I think there was something I wanted to talk about from the last one.
Well, I wanted to tell you about this experience I had in, I want to say Aztec, but it was actually Farmington. And we were at a bar, the band was playing there, and we decided to, so we fooled around a little bit, then we went to bed. We were taking a nap before the night's event, so we'd be well rested. And as usual, I'm sitting there trying to get to sleep, doing the whole closing my eyes and rolling my eyes back in my head and kind of putting my tongue in between my teeth so I'm not clenching my, jaw bones.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I see this entity in the room. Okay, there's no windows in this room. The only light you can see coming through is under the crack of the door. And I saw this entity that was darker than the dark. And all of a sudden, he was telepathically communicating with me. And he said that he was going to have me, and telepathically I said back to him, because I was frozen, I couldn't speak, but I could talk to him with my mind.
Right.
And I'm like, no, you won't. You can't have me. And he kind of laughed and said he would, and then he leaned down. Right before that, he smiled, and his teeth were actually kind of like glowing. You could see these sharp, shiny, white, jagged teeth. He kind of laughed and smiled, and then he leaned down and kissed me, and it sent this shock through my eye teeth, into my head, and through the rest of my body. At that point, I could kick my feet, like my feet were unfrozen. So I'm kicking my feet frantically. I'm trying to scream, but it's like a muted thing because my mouth is closed and I can't scream. All of a sudden, my husband wakes up and he sees this entity. So he reaches over and grabs me and pulls me towards him, and he disappeared.
Wow.
I've seen shadow people before and such, but this thing to me was different, and I'm not sure if it was an incubus, but it scared me so much. The next day I'm driving from Farmington to Durango, and I'm so freaked out by this thing. I'm thinking it's following me home. I'm looking in my rear view. I'm looking out my side mirrors thinking he's attached to my car, in my car somewhere. But I never saw him again. I think he was just a part of this building. But it really, really freaked me out, and this thing thought it was going to have me. Luckily, my husband was in tune and was able to wake up and save me from it, but holy shnikes, like, when it kissed me, it was so painful, the shock that went through my body. It was like somebody actually shocked me with a cord or something through my eye teeth.
Wow.
It was insane.
Yeah, that's, the sexual stuff happens more than people would actually ever believe. But you got to remember, if they're earthbound, they have the same wants and desires they did as they were alive, So, they're a lot of them are gonna want sex, and it's. I was in the news not too long ago. A lady said she was marrying a spirit, that she was having a sexual relationship with.
Yeah, was that the Pirate Jack or something like that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it was really crazy with my second wife. We were living in Ignacio, and there's like a vortex up on that hill above the high school there, and that's where we were living. Mm-hmm. And there was like a new entity every day there, every day. And I got tired and I put my guard down. But one morning I was getting ready for work, and she comes up and gives me this really hot kiss, and, oh, you were great last night. And I'm like, what? I don't remember doing anything last night. And then it happened again the next day. So I'm like, next time that happens, ask them their name. And sure enough, the guy said his name was Bobby. And it turned out that he was using my body to have sex with my wife, you know. It was really, really strange.
Yeah, you're like, I wish I could have been there.
Yeah, it's like she was cheating on me with my body. But yeah,
I don't know if you heard or not, but when they were building the new, I think it was new junior high and a new elementary school up there, they actually recovered a bunch of bones, and they had to halt the building process because there's several burial grounds up there on the top of the hill where they built these new schools. So that could explain a lot of what was going on with you.
Oh yeah, I tell you, I probably only seen with my eyes like 10 of them. One of them was there. It was really strange. My wife had 6 kids, and one night she wakes me up. There's somebody in the house. I'm like, yeah, it's probably one of the kids. She goes, no, I checked all the kids. They're all in bed. So, I'm thinking, oh, somebody broke into my house. So I grab a baseball bat, and I walk in the living room. And there's a lady in a maid's outfit, and she's dusting. And she turns to me and goes, you can help me, can't you? And then I realized who she was, and I helped her go to the light. I went back and told my wife about it. She got mad at me. Well, you should have let her finish cleaning the house first.
Right?
But yeah, that house was, oh man, every night something different. I couldn't, like I say, I make my house a sanctuary, my home a sanctuary. I couldn't do it there. We only lived there for like 6 months, but it was crazy. It was nuts. Not all good stuff either.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of negative stuff going on, especially when bones are being disturbed and people are building on these places. They don't realize there's bones. And there's so many houses up there. Could you imagine? Like, I hear of oil field workers and people like that uncover bones and they just kind of put them in a pile and put dirt over them and they don't report it. And so we have a bunch of unrested souls going on. The same thing could be happening with houses being built. People are just wanting to go on with progress, get it done within this time frame they have, and so they're not going through the right avenues and they're not reporting it, which causes so much chaos and turmoil for people that are trying to live there in a peaceful, like you said, sanctuary.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I had a really cool experience. I live on my parents' ranch, our family ranch. And one day I was at my parents' house. For some reason, I think they were gone and I was house sitting. I was at their house and I seen like a movement out in the window. And I looked out and there was like a 19, 20-year-old kid. And he was wearing like bib overalls. He looked out of history, like he was 100 years, gone. But at first, I didn't realize, I was seeing a ghost. I was thinking, well, I wonder what that guy's doing here. Because, we live in the boonies. So I go out, and as soon as he looked at me, I realized he was a ghost. And he was confused. A lot of them Earthbounds don't even know they're dead. They're walking around trying to figure everything out. And they have no sense of time. So yesterday is 100 years ago to them. It doesn't matter. Yeah. But, he goes, I'm looking for work. Can you help me? I'm a good hand. I work on the railroad. And the railroad used to come right through where our ranch is.
Are you guys out towards Arbalese?
No, we're about toward by the airport.
Okay.
You know where the Williams Field Service plant is? We're right across from that. Yeah. So, but my stepdad, he's a big historian. He had told me where the track wasn't that far from here at one time. But yeah, that was really cool. My mom, she's probably way more psychic than I am. One day I come out and I could see a little girl standing behind her. And she was working in the garden. I go, Mom, did you know there's a little girl behind you? And my mom just looked at me, yeah, she helps me every day. Like, oh gosh. But she didn't want me to let her send her to the light until once somebody experiences that, though, that beautiful feeling of them meeting their loved one and going into the light, it's just, I've actually seen like the entity being like sickly, like sometimes they'll show you, what they want to show you when they're healthy. Sometimes they'll show you their death, what they look like at death, and that can be pretty gross. But I've seen them go as they're walking into the light, just heal, just
go back to wholeness.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful. I love doing what I do. I really do. It's just bringing people back together, and yeah, it's. I had a really crazy experience at that same ranch I was telling you about with the lady. My dad, I got to tell you this whole story. This lady and I got pretty close, and we were at the Aztec ruins going to Farmington. We're going to Farmington, and I go, "You want to go? Have you seen the Aztec ruins?" She goes, "No, I never have." Well, let's go. So we're waiting for the tour, and we're looking around in the gift shop. Well, my cousin wrote a book. He's a Cheyenne Indian, and he wrote a book called Seven Arrows, and his name is Jaime O. Storms. And I've seen it. I've seen his book at Mesa Verde and other places. So I was looking for that book, and she asked me, "What are you looking for?" I said, "Well," I told her about the book, and she just started crying. I'm like, "What's your deal?" And she goes, "Well, that's the book that turned me to spirituality. I was living in Florida. That's what made me move to this area." And she says, "I've even had letter correspondences with letters with him, with my cousin." And this is a cousin, that I knew as a little kid. I didn't know him really good. But and she goes, "I've got all his books." Well, I didn't even know he had more. I thought he just had the one. Well, for Christmas, she went on eBay and ordered one of his books for me. And when she gives it to me, she's all sad. She goes, "I'm so sorry." She goes, "This is a used book, and there's an inscription in it." I open it up. That inscription was from my cousin to my dad. And she got it on eBay. Yeah. So, but anyway, that connection was there. And then one day I got to where, because it was so spiritual there, this is in Arbalese, it was so spiritual there that I was meditating during lunch. One day it was weird because her farm was like all light, but it was. You remember the movie? Did you see the movie Field of Dreams, where the doctor had to choose to step across that line to help that little girl that was choking? That meant he wouldn't be able to be a baseball player anymore. Well, it was like that. Once they cross it, they can't come back. Well, this entity, I couldn't see a face or anything. I just see the energy, was on the road, and he didn't want to come, but he wasn't sure. Well, actually, I had to convince him. And then I turned to look at the light, and I see my grandmother and my aunt. I'm like, "Oh, my God." And I turned around, and it was my dad that was crossing over. So, like, oh, God, I got chills just telling that story again. But I knew he had a really rough life. He was a heroin addict, and he was on the fence whether to go light or dark. So it was so cool to see him make that decision. And I've had a couple of messages from him since then, but not for a while. So I guess he's probably busy with the rest of the folks.
Yeah, I'm hoping he found peace. Sean in the chat room was asking a question. She said she took a picture of her son's grave, and above all across was a gold color. What does that mean?
Gold is almost always spiritual. It's like, the pictures of Jesus that we see, with the halo, that's the gold aura that shows a spiritual leader. But it's definitely a good sign. Definitely a good sign. I'd say that he's crossed. I'd say it's a sign that he's crossed over and is doing good. There's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, and I think he's found peace in what happened with him and everything, and he's hoping she finds peace too, and trying to share that light and energy with her.
Yeah, and that's so hard to understand because the whole reincarnation thing, we're going to experience everything in these reincarnations. We're all going to be the murderer. We're all going to be murdered. We're all going to be the thief, the one that gets stolen from. We're all going to be everything. So, and it's like stillborn babies sometimes. The reason that happens is because those people, and it's so sad to say, but they have to go through that grieving period to evolve. There's so much learning and in pain that people don't And it's hard to tell somebody that when you get that in a reading, like, well, I'm sorry, but that was meant to happen. And it was for your spiritual growth. And because you're not letting go of it, you're not getting that spiritual growth. So you need to let go and move on. Doesn't mean that you forget the person. You just, you remember the person, not the event, I guess.
Shar is saying she doesn't believe in reincarnation and we get one chance, which I don't believe. I've had different friends, like my mentor and her daughter. They both had reincarnation stories. And when it comes to my kids, my youngest one has actually said different things that makes me believe in reincarnation. She was only a year and a half old. And, these lanyards, these little ropes we have that go onto our keys. She had one of those army lanyards because my daughter went to a job fair. And she's wrapping it around her leg, and I'm like, baby, don't do that, you're going to cut off the circulation, and your leg's going to get numb, and you're going to have difficulty walking on it, like pins and needles and such. And she's like, Mom, I gotta tie it off or I'm going to bleed out. What 1.5-year-old says that? And then shortly after that, she's talking to me about, Mom, remember when I was older and I was a man and I had blonde hair and I wore glasses and I was a nurse and this and this and that and that. So I'm thinking perhaps she was a nurse in the military. Perhaps she got shot in the leg trying to help somebody or whatever and was trying to tie it off. And, just different stuff like that she'd say made me really stop and think, because she's so young. She hasn't seen anything like that. And she's saying these different things and using these different terms, like, I have to tie it off or I'm going to bleed out. And different things like that. Like, it really made me think, that's my past life baby. And when she was being born, I had my mentor with me. And she was actually a person that helped with childbirth and such. And the baby was coming, and the nurse wasn't coming. Nobody was coming in, and I'm like, she's coming, she's crowning, like, she's right there. This is my last kid, my 4th kid, so, things aren't as tight and stuff as they used to be. And she's like, it's okay, just let it go. I can help. I know what to do. And I was like, no, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. I have to hold her in. And then the nurse came in, and I'm like, she's coming, like, right now. And she checked, and she's like, yeah, you're dilated fully to the 10 centimeters, whatnot. Let me go get the doctor. A little more than 5 minutes later, seemed like an eternity. I'm like, what is she doing? Like, having a cigarette and a coffee, and then she'll be in here when she's done. She finally came in, and she's like, okay, let's do this. And so I push, and the head comes out and everything, and the cord is wrapped around her neck. Had I done that while Kat was there and we didn't have the tools, she would have died. And so she's just like so feisty and full of piss and vinegar and positive energy for the most part. But a lot of times you're just like, wow, what's going on with this kid? But she's my past life baby, and she's taught me so many things and told me so many things about her past life. I cannot deny her. And I tell her, I don't remember that, but I do believe you, because I don't want her to mute it. I want her to be able to remember it and to be able to share it with me.
Yep. Yeah, that's, kids are natural psychics. Like my stepson, he was 4 years old, and he was saying the same kind of thing. When I was big, I used to do this or I would do that. And he would color, and I seen him color in auras. And my wife would say, no, color in the lines. Well, that's how they lose that, because they see it, and then they're told it's wrong. There's this, like imaginary friends. I think that almost all imaginary friends are entities that they're, because they're so in touch with their psychic side, they could see them better than we can, But yeah, kids are amazing. That's, with the young mothers I work with, they're all so cool, because they're seeing stuff like that and telling me about it, and it's, we program them to not be psychic with our culture and our beliefs and as far as the not believing in reincarnation, I'm not about changing anybody's beliefs, because that's also part of our evolution. One day, one life we believe one thing, then it's like, I think we're all going to be Buddhists, we're all going to be whatever, each religion before it's all over. So yeah, I never try to change anybody's belief system at all. In fact, usually when I work with somebody, I ask them what they believe before I start working with them. I have a girl that I work with who says she's an atheist that doesn't believe in anything, but she believes in ghosts, And that doesn't make sense to me, but I don't ridicule her. I try to go with it from that angle when I work with her, But
she followed up and said, my son speaks through my grandson, doesn't mean it's him. And I was telling her, well, if he was born after your son passed, it could be him reincarnated, or like you said, it could just be him speaking through him.
Channeling,
it's hard to really, it could really be difficult to say what exactly is going on there. But, like you're saying, we have our different beliefs, and my mother, she was my spiritual side of me. Once I lost her, I was grasping at straws, like just trying to find spiritual answers. So I went to every church I could. Even when I joined the military after being baptized into the Mormon church, I had every church at the tip of my fingers. Every weekend I was going to a different church. And I believe everybody has a small portion of the truth. And nobody has the full truth. Like a lot of them, like the Mormon church, and everybody claims, we have the full doctrine, and we have the full truth, and this and this and that and that. Well, I don't agree with that. There's certain things I do agree with from these different churches. Like right now, I'm wearing a silver cross and a St. Michael medallion. I'm not Catholic, but I do have the fullest faith in St. Michael. I do have the fullest faith in my brother Jesus Christ, and there's so many other things that I do have faith in that I apply into my everyday life, but that I am not a religious person as far as I don't go to church every weekend. I can find church in the woods. I can find church at the lake. I can find church through my kids. Like, you can find it in so many places, and you don't have to go to this structure where people are looking down their noses at you,
Well, and that's one thing I love about Edgar Cayce, too. And this was hard for him because he was a Baptist Sunday school teacher, and a lot of his readings conflicted with everything he believed in. But one of the things he says is there is no true religion, but each religion has something to teach us. And that's exactly what you just described. So, yeah, that's what I do, too. I study them all. I know the Bible really well. But, I think there's definitely, like you just said, there's no true religion. They all got something for you, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited because I believe in the Bible, but I do believe that, due to the will of man, things have been taken out and things have been added. And I'm so excited with this new Pope, like all the different things he's doing.
Me too.
And he's actually having the full extent, which they have so many things that we don't know. They have them locked up. He's taking the Bible and having it what is the word where they
translated.
Yes, retranslate it. And so they're not taking anything out. They're not adding anything in. They're just retranslating what's already there. And so I'm excited to see that because due to the will of man, well, we don't need this and let's add this and so on and so forth. So we really don't get the full extent of what we're really supposed to be deciphering. And so I'm excited to see and decipher this new translated book. So that's really cool. I'm excited about that.
Have you read any of the Gnostic Bible, which has a lot of writings that weren't canonized into the Bible? Some of them are by the same authors, like James has a gospel, and Mary, the Gospel of Mary. That's one of my favorite books. I love, like, one of the things that Jesus said in I think it's James, that wasn't included in the Bible because they didn't think it was whatever. It wasn't even religious people that canonized a lot of the Bible. It was political people, But it said that look under a rock, I'm there. Look under a tree, I'm there. In other words, you don't need a church. I'm everywhere, Just look for me. Wherever you look for me is your church. And I totally believe. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jesus. That's for sure.
Yeah, I always say, my big brother knows what's going on.
Yep.
I have the fullest faith in him and what he did and so many things that he sacrificed for us. Like, he really didn't want to do it. but he knew he had to in order to help us. And
Right.
so it's awesome that he was able to do that for us. And I don't want to get religious or, political or anything like that, but I do fully believe in him. And St. Michael, I've used him so many times on different investigations, and it's kind of to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't have used that prayer at the beginning of the investigation because nothing's wanting to come through now. Maybe I should have just used it at the end,
All right.
So you kind of learn as you're going what you should and shouldn't do, and you definitely need to protect yourself in some way or another before you go in, and then use your backup like St. Michael or whatnot to clean it up after you're done. Because I've learned using St. Michael going into these investigations, like things are just quiet and they don't want to come out because they don't want to be smote or, locked into this certain area where they're supposed to be. And so they're kind of hiding out and you're really not getting the cool stuff that you could be getting. So it's kind of like a learning process. And like we were saying earlier, nobody's an expert and we're continually learning how to work in this field. And like you said, I really love doing this, and I really love helping people, not only on this side, but the other.
Right. And that's the way I think you need to look at the Bible. The people that wrote that were just like us. They're none of them were totally experts, but they were writing what they experienced, So, some of it could be wrong, some could be, dead on. But that's the way I look at it anyway.
Yeah, and I think it's so cool that the more and more that we recover different tombs and such, there's more writings that we find. That's where the Doctrine and Covenants and the Pearl of Great Price and all these other books come from. And there's more and more every day that we're finding. So more of the puzzles being put together. And I want to read everything. I want to learn. I want to learn as much as I can. Some things are really scary, but, makes your hair raise up and you're like, oh my gosh, what was that?
Right. See, Edgar Casey predicted they'd find the Dead Sea Scrolls back in the 20s. I think they found them right after World War II. And he also predicts that they're going to find the I can't remember what it's called, but it's supposed to be the recording of all of history, and it's going to be by the Sphinx in the pyramids. So that's they're finding new stuff with the drones and the new technology. They're finding all kinds of new pyramids and stuff right now. So that's really exciting too.
Yeah, and BTO is like Gnostic teachings, yet guest doesn't know anything regarding the Archons, when in fact the Gnostics were perhaps the first to discuss the Matrix and the Archons. Forget about it. That's one of his things he says. Akashic Records. But I'm hoping when the Pope does retranslate the Bible, I'm hoping he retranslates, because I know they have it. If anybody has the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's the Catholics. And they got it locked away in this cool little room where they have all these other amazing things locked away. And I'm hoping that they'll also translate that as well, because the more information we can get, the better off we are, and I just want to learn as much as I can, and I'm hoping that they, being that this new Pope is in power, that they're letting more stuff come out.
Right. Yeah, me too. It's exciting. There's a lot of exciting things going on right now. We're living in a good time. A lot of, it's one of the Edgar Casey calls it we're in the golden age, where there's a lot of transitions going on.
For sure. And I'm just excited to see what comes out and kind of apply my mind to it. Read it and translate it, your own interpretation. And you're supposed to pray about it. Please help me interpret this and get what I need out of it. And generally it does happen the way you need it to. And we all get different messages, but then when we can get together and share our different messages, which is what I love about SOR, like we all have so much individual information, and people are afraid to share it. Like BT all the time is like, he says something and then he's like, but you don't want to hear it, so forget about it, or I'm not going to say this because it might offend, which I don't agree with. I want to hear what you have to say because I want to learn from you. I want to learn from everybody here, and I'll take what it is and decipher it on my own, whether I agree with it or not. It's not up to me to judge you. I'll take what I agree with and pertain it to my own life and apply it, and otherwise, let it just flow where it may. But I do love learning from everybody and all their different perspectives. It's really intriguing to hear the different viewpoints, because we all have a different perspective. and it's good to get together and share those.
Yes, I totally agree. And that's what I like about stuff like this and the webs, like my site, and is getting everybody's perspective and learning from it. It's like the young lady that taught me about the personality fragment. This is from a 22-year-old woman. And there's something you can learn from anybody you meet, and everybody has something for you.
Yeah, and like I read from your bio in the first place, we all can learn from each other, and it's so true. Like, everybody out there has something to teach. So don't mute yourself. Feel free to share it, especially here in SOR Asylum. Like, share what you may, and let's teach each other, and let's learn from each other. And that's what I love about it. I love my SOR family. My paranormal family is what I like to call them.
Right.
But I do enjoy hearing the different perspectives, and I don't look down upon you. I'll agree or I won't. I'll keep it to myself for the most part, but
right. Yeah.
But I love hearing it, and I don't want to mute anybody, because if you do that, you're not going to learn. You're not going to hear these things, and you're not going to be able to decipher whether it's true or not to you.
Yes, you're so awesome. It's so good to know you and be a part of your show and everything. I'm so appreciative of it all.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to have you back, and I'm trying to remember again, how did we meet in the first place? Was it on Facebook or?
Well, I remember it was like out of nowhere. I got an email from you asking if I would help you, that there was a local boy or somebody that they thought had a demonic possession. And I'd actually walked away from the work for 10 years. I'm like, how did she know that I did that? Because that actually was one of the things that put me back on my path. It was like, oh my God, I'm being called back,
Yeah, I remember you saying, thank you for waking me up again.
Yeah, I had no idea how you knew that. Well, years ago I had it was called the Grappler's Psychic Grapevine. And it was back when the MSN had their little pages, before Facebook. And, I don't know. I was trying to think that the other day. Like, where did we meet? I think we met, way before either one of us can remember, actually.
Yeah, and it's weird because I can't remember where I found you, so it's intriguing. I'm like, where did we meet? I remember getting a hold of you, or you getting a hold of me, and we met up for sushi, and it was so good. But it was awesome meeting you and working with you for sure. And I'm so glad that we're able to get together, and we're at the end of our time. So can you tell our listeners how exactly to find you on Facebook or otherwise?
Yeah, if you friend me, Ron Sherman. If you friend me, I'll send you an invite to my site. If somebody already asked to be a member of my site, and I don't know how that works. I have two really good administrators that do all that stuff. But if you friend me on Facebook, or even if you don't want to be on my site, get me on Facebook, and if you want me to work with you, I'll be glad to share anything I can do. And I always seem to make friends with everybody I work with, so I love doing that.
Well, thank you so much again for being my guest tonight, and it was so wonderful having you on the show again this evening.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm working on a book right now, so when I get further along that, maybe you can help me plug it.
That'd be amazing. I'd love to do that for sure.
Awesome.
And thank you to everyone in Spaced Out Radio, Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Paranormal Radio, TalkStream Live, Deep Talk Radio, and wherever else in the universe you're listening tonight. I had a wonderful time this evening, and it was my pleasure, literally and figuratively, and I can't wait to do it again next weekend on spacedoutradio.com. You guys have a wonderful week. Don't work too hard, and I'll see you back here next weekend. Until next time, nighty-night, love and light to all my space cases out there in SOR Asylum. And you guys, don't forget, we are all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better, and together, my friends, we own the night.
Through the sand, you'll win your hand and be your man. I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a
And if you guys would like to join us for the SOR Asylum After Party, you can get a hold of me on Skype. Make sure you send me a contact request. That way I can get you in there more easily, because with the new Skype update, it's making things a bit difficult. But we do have a great time in the SOR Asylum After Party, and I'd love to see you guys there. And like I said again, nighty-night, love and light to you guys. Have a good weekend. Don't work too hard, and take care of my yous.